Baby, don't leave my back, I'm too spent. This is what I got, yeah, it's how it been. But that's okay, cause I'm making it. Don't like me, well, I'm on the road. High speed, chase, that's what I love. Can't see what I can't control. Did it once, yeah, do it once again. Watch my father, yeah, he taught me how to win. Cop new Prada, money taught me how to spin. Waves like water, music taught me how to swim. I'ma fill my bottle way up to the rim.
Back then, yeah, I never taught it all. Ashes, yeah, let them bitches fall. I've been way better than before. Posted with my cash till it's all.
Dojo, not again.
I'm tryna make my mama proud, that's for sure. Landed in the city, but my heart is on the coast. I don't wanna look back what my life was like before. I just took a red-eye penthouse, top floor. In the stew, I got a spazzo. Back up in my bag, get the rackets and I cash out. I've been running laps, I don't got time to relax now. I just took a chance, wasn't looking for no handouts. Oh, they like proud of how we do this. I've been with my brothers in the hills, we going stupid. I can't stop, I've been different, always knew this. Tryna turn them Bordens into Benjis, needing blue strips. Oh,
Walking on the floor, this shirt, no one protects me. Wanna show shawty my heart, she wanna text me. All this love I felt was a curse, I wanna exit. Going crazy, all of my nerves, who does to check me? All this fun, baby, why you gotta leave me on? Had to drop a bag on her when she gone. But I'm running with my click, yeah, they got me till I fall. Come paying it for bags, worth more than you love. Yeah, yeah. Feel my moment, yeah, yeah. I'm the chosen, yeah, yeah. I'm the one inside.
in the stew, I got a spazzo. Back up in my bag, get the rackets and I cash out. I've been running laps, I don't got time to relax now. I just took a chance, wasn't looking for no handouts. Oh, they like proud of how we do this. I've been with my brothers in the hills, we going stupid. I can't stop, I've been different, always knew this. Tryna turn them Bordens into Benjis, needing blue strips. Oh,
Henny got me wasted. You done cut the yola, I can taste it.
Biting on my swag, you niggas pussy tryna trace it. I don't need your love, I took a perk and I replaced it.
I'ma keep on going till my mama said I made it. Black and yellow, white, I got these different races. Did my dirt, I had a match, I'm moving faceless.
I got 12 plotting on me, but no cases.
Running from my demons, lacing on my A6. I don't do that fake shit, nah. The way they treat me, they act like I'm feeling them. So I got a script, I was just trying to feel something. Now I'm alone, you don't care, and
in
I
the stew,
feel
I got a
numb.
spazzo. Back up in my bag, get the rackets and I cash out. I've been running laps, I don't got time to relax now. I just took a chance, wasn't looking for no handouts. Oh, they like proud of how we do this. I've been with my brothers in the hills, we going stupid. I can't stop, I've been different, always knew this. Tryna turn them Bordens into Benjis, needing blue strips. Oh,
You said some things you didn't mean. I'm sure I did that too.
Oh, baby.
Egos clashing, dreams crashing. Whatever happened to me and you? From lovers to strangers, when everything changes.
Oh, baby.
When we tear out the pages and only one word is left. Please let just be quiet until the next riot. Just give us some time for the wounds to heal. What is broken is broken. Let's just leave it for now. We need some perspective just to understand how. What is broken for now. What is broken for think we both need to grow, so that we need not to know. Maybe doubt, maybe ask, maybe understand at last. From knowing to asking, from tearing to building, from thinking to feeling, from hurting to healing. Please let's just be quiet and let the silence speak. Just give us some time for the wounds to heal. What is broken is broken. Let's just leave it for now. We need some perspective just to understand how. What is broken for now. But maybe tomorrow we will know how. Yes, maybe tomorrow we will know how. Oh, maybe tomorrow we will know how.
Do not come. Do not come.
Okay, this is the most disappointing video I've ever seen. She literally attacked the two things that I like. What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude. What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude. Holy shit, dude. Holy fucking shit, dude. Literally lying. Still lying to his audience. Okay, that's my PTOS. What the fuck?
Wait,
Okay.
is it?
I don't know, but that was.
You asked for this, sir?
I said, what's your favorite anime voice?
Yeah. Yeah. I need a smoke where the matches. I'm a king, fuck your status. Getting dough, I pay no taxes. I'm a star in all fashions of the word, bro. I'ma flip the bird, bro. Coming through in foreigns and all you hear is skirt, huh? All polo and some white shoes. Funny thing now is I'm a nice dude, but when you cross that line, it ain't the right move. And my tender bitch is what I like knows. Oh yeah, can you feel that? I'm giving y'all that real rap. I'ma get the money, make the deal fat. Making hits with a steel bat. The Audi Quattro or that Monte Carlo. Which whip will I whip tomorrow? Got 6 chicks down to sip the bottle. Go coast to coast, I can ship the cargo. I don't really know if these people keep it real. I'm just telling all you fuckers how the homie really feel. And I'm looking up to God. Can you tell me what's the deal? I'm just waiting for your answer at the altar where I kneel. I need a smoke where the matches. I'm a king, fuck your status. Getting dough, I pay no taxes. I'm a star in all fashions of the word, bro. I'ma flip the bird, bro. Coming through in foreigns and all you hear is skirt, huh? Let me get the money, I see you bitches acting funny, ha. Can't take nothing from me, nah. Rapping blunts like mummies, yeah. We freed the homie when he caught a bid. I roll around, you can't stop the kid. Truth be told, I'm hot as shit. Just say what up when you spot a kid. Real talk, I'm trying to speak the truth. I stay loyal, bro, to my roots. Since 15, I've been in the booth. At 16, I was on the move. Used to ride in that old Chevy. Now we out here show ready. I can see the bull, you're so petty. You can have your shine, my glow heavy. I need a smoke where the matches. I'm a king, fuck your status. Getting dough, I pay no taxes. I'm a star in all fashions of the word, bro. I'ma flip the bird, bro. Coming through in foreigns and all you hear is skirt, huh?
It was beautiful, yeah, together. Even though we planned forever. Days of dreams, nights of talks. It was only us together. The world was ours, nothing out of reach. Imagine where we could be. Our dreams is one, hope brighter than the sun. What could ever stop us? Then it all turned, I don't know why. Still to this day, I'm wondering why. Will we ever know? Will we ever get to understand what we both went through? Anyway, I'm thankful for the times I had with you. I just want to thank you for loving you. Your love made me love myself more. And I could never thank you, never thank you enough. I was down when you met me, but your smile wouldn't let me think down on myself, look down on myself. You told me I could, that I should, I would spread my wings and head for the sky. Then it all turned, I don't know why. Still to this day, I'm wondering why. Will we ever know? Will we ever get to understand what we both went through? Anyway, I'm thankful for the times I had with you. I just want to thank you for loving you. thank you enough.
She says that she loves me, she just wants to fuck me. Got me feeling something, got me feeling nothing. Alcoholic junkie, says she thinks I'm funny. Think I might get lucky, spending too much money. She says she wants my necklace, put her on the guest list. Hope I don't regret this, hope I don't regret this. I'm feeling hella reckless, cashing all my checks rich. Hickeys on my neck, shit, she's on the offensive. I do not know my set list, still I'm gonna get lit. Yeah, I have a death wish, live until I'm breathless. I'ma stay progressive, she gon' stay obsessive. Life is so expensive, do everything excessive. I think my brain's defective, yeah. Can't think when she's aggressive, yeah. She snuck into my section, yeah. You think I'd learn my lesson, yeah. And we ain't getting no sleep. These girls don't even know me. Like Drake, I'm getting trophies. You want it, girl, then show me, yeah. And we ain't getting no sleep. These girls don't even know me. Like Drake, I'm getting trophies. You want it, girl, then show me. Cause we ain't getting no sleep, yeah. No, we ain't getting no sleep, yeah. She's sitting up in the front of the class, using that ass, she gonna pass. Keeping her pad and her pen in her lap. She been so bad with the men in her past. Now she just want the professor so bad. I'll give her lessons that she never had, like taking a freshman and teaching her math. I'll keep her guessing until she a grad. She always leaves them guessing, they don't know what's next, man. Learned it from the best, man. She loving every lesson, with hands-on sessions, points for attendance. She asks a lot of questions, I answer with my presence. I sit back while I'm texting, said she'll bring her best friend. Know what happened next, man. You know what happened next, man. Treat her like a guest, man. Rolling out the best, man. She had a confession, yeah. She wanna stay for a minute, she wanna play for a minute, she wanna slay for a minute. And now I'm all up in it. I'll be back in a minute, I'll be back in a minute. Make a track in a minute. And now I'm all up in it. No sleep. These girls don't even know me. Like Drake, I'm getting trophies. You want it, girl, then show me, yeah. And we ain't getting no sleep. These girls don't even know me. Like Drake, I'm getting trophies. You want it, girl, then show me. Cause we ain't getting no sleep, yeah. No, we ain't getting no sleep, yeah.
Don't like me, 'cause I'm on the road, yeah. Alright, let's go. Don't like me, well I'm on the road. I speed, chase, that's what I love. Can't see what I can't control. Did it once, yeah, do it once again. Watch my father, yeah, he taught me how to win. Cop new Prada, money taught me how to spin. Waves like water, music taught me how to swim. I'ma fill my bottle way up to the rim. Back then, yeah, I never talked at all. Ashes, yeah, let them bitches fall. I've been way better than before. Posted with my cash till it's all. Hey, yo, watch this. Got a foreign gold switching for my necklace. Got $100,000 on my checklist. All the money you made, that's my worst slip. You ain't learning. I be a new person. I be making money fast. They be so determined. I be working every day. Yeah, I'm up on my circuit. Got me another diamond chain, made it from the surface. I been hurting. Would you live with me straight till the end? Baby, don't leave my back. I'm too spent. This is what I got, yeah, it's how it been. But that's okay, cause I'm making ends. Don't like me, well I'm on the road. I speed, chase, that's what I love. Can't see what I can't control. Did it once, yeah, do it once again. Watch my father, yeah, he taught me how to win. Cop new Prada, money taught me how to spin. Waves like water, music taught me how to swim. I'ma fill my bottle way up to the rim.
Back then, yeah, I never talked at all. Ashes, yeah, let them
I took people's drop boxes. I was like, "Are you a conservative, ma'am?" And like an old lady would be like, "Yeah, I'm a conservative," and I would fucking deck her, take her ballot, and just rip it apart right in front of her face. I was like, "You're not allowed to vote this way in California."
Hello.
That's right, bitch.
Hey, hi, hello, what's up, internet? How's it going? Hope everyone's doing well. Pretty good, myself. A lot later than I planned on being. Life has a way. Life always finds a way of fucking your shit up. I did spend like an hour outside today though, so that was nice. Trying to like not be so deathly pale. So fucking pale, dude. Can like see right through my skin. It's kind of fucked up.
I got a funny one for you. Okay, here, look at this.
What we were seeing in the polling data going into this election about what people cared about and the order in which they ranked it. So we have had a lot of questions throughout this time about new voters, people.
Lots going on. We got the possible Trump arrest coming up on Tuesday. Very excited about that. We have like a shit ton of video essays to get through tomorrow, so we might start that tonight if we get through everything, but I doubt we will because the Richard Wolff on Leftovers is it's over 2 hours. So that's gonna take a while. Maybe I should put the Dark History first, so we definitely get to that. Because that's only an hour. Yes, yes. The AOC Chaya Raichik beef is like, it's an ongoing beef. There's a lot of history there. I think Chaya's low-key kind of obsessed with the AOC. She just never stops talking about her. I forgot I was gonna look for like a summary of all of Loops of TikTok's posts on AOC. But basically, like, Chaya went to Congress trying to meet with AOC, but AOC didn't know about it. So she wasn't there. So Oh my god. They did like a photo op together. Yeah, it's a whole thing. What else? Yeah, there's a lot of news, but probably won't get till Monday. Ugh, always so behind. Well, okay. It's gonna do it.
We played on the show yesterday that Chaya Raichik, again, I don't know if I'm saying her name right. I will completely maintain that I don't care, since she has no interest in respecting the way that other people choose to identify themselves. But she's been like making the rounds, I guess, because just her dazzling charisma is exactly what the right-wing anti-trans movement needs. Promoting her children's book, which likens transitioning into another gender to ice cream and cupcakes that all the kids really want, but they have to go and ask their parents as their parents if they should have all of this sugar. I think it says something about her psychology that she thinks transitioning is just like this tasty cupcake. But putting that aside,
well, wait a second. Let me just add something to this because in FUBAR we quoted, and I can't remember who the one of like the big sort of fundamentalist, and Rychik is also a fundamentalist. You should understand that she's not a Christian fundamentalist, but she is a religious fundamentalist nevertheless. And there was another one, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he would refer to gay sex. He was fighting, of course, marriage equality and gay people existing, and this was back in the 90s and the aughts, as like heroin. And if you get a little taste of it, you can't stop.
Oh my god, that's such a fucking self-report. It's so just delicious and tasty. You can't stop if you get a little taste of the D. Bro.
And that's why you have to, and there is like everything is set up within a fundamentalist mind view of like, don't bite into that apple. You cannot control yourself. In fact, you can see right here, she is wearing clothing that covers her elbows. She's trying to sort of like not stand out for this, but covering her elbows and her knees because she believes in a fundamentalist version of religion that states if a woman shows her elbows or her knees, it's too much temptation for the men.
Yeah.
And that's a sin.
The elbow? Bitch, what? That's crazy, dude. Yeah, those sexy joints. Like, what? Like, oh. Watch out. Are you turned on right now? Uh-oh. Better put that away. Put it away, slut. Oh my god. Dude, that's crazy.
But to your point about that example in FUBAR too, it's just interesting about where this hatred comes from when they seem to perceive someone's gender ideology or sexual orientation that they're so hateful towards as like the apple that Adam and Eve bite into or whatever. It means that there's some things under the surface that they might, want to acknowledge, but they're not. They're choosing not to, and put their push their hatred outwards. But with all of that prelude here, she went to Congress. She was in Washington, D.C. She tried to troll Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And this is the video that she put out, I guess, in tandem with the Heritage Foundation. Glorious.
I am here outside the Cannon building. I was here last week because I attempted to ask AOC why she lied about me in a committee hearing. She cowered away. She refused to talk to me. So I'm back here today, 1 week later, and I'm going to deliver her an ethics complaint that
She didn't cower away. She wasn't there because she didn't know you were coming to stalk her.
I filed for lying about an American citizen in a committee hearing.
So AOC, she broke the rules. Believe it or not, there's actually rules on Capitol Hill. And 23 Clause 1 is a big one. You got to act in a way that reflects credibility on the House. And lying about, a U.S. citizen certainly doesn't do that. So we're filing this ethics complaint.
Let's go inside and see if she's there.
What Marjorie Taylor Greene did.
How are you doing? We're dropping off some mail for the Congress.
Hi. So basically a few weeks ago, AOC lied about me in a committee hearing. Okay. So I tried to come last week and talk to her.
Bro, all of these notes, holy shit, that's a nightmare. What are all those notes for? I hope those don't actually, mean anything. I hope it's just, notes people left. I don't. What the fuck?
AOC lied about me in a committee hearing. Okay. So I tried to come last week and...
Those are the pansexual colors.
Talked to her, but she kind of cowered away, wasn't interested in talking to me. So together with Mike from the Heritage Foundation Oversight, he helped me file this ethics complaint. So we filed that, and if you can give it to AOC, I would really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And tell her to stop lying about American citizens.
Okay.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
I just dropped
She hasn't said once in this video what the lie was. What did she say? Was it in the beginning and I tuned it out because I can't listen to her? I feel like she didn't really say... Am I crazy?
Off an ethics complaint at AOC's office, and unfortunately she wasn't there. So we left, and then I was walking through the Capitol, and guess who I bumped into? AOC herself. I just delivered an ethics complaint to your office because you lied about me in a committee hearing. I never inspired a bump for
No, you're actually super transphobic, and I never want to share space with you. Thank you.
Damn. I fucking love AOC. You're actually super transphobic and I don't want to share a space with you. Goodbye. With a smile, dude. With a fucking smile. What an icon. I love her.
She was nice and stopped to take a picture with me. Totally got her.
So epic that she had no idea who I was before I introduced myself.
I'm so lacking in charisma and in respectability and in just like a general sense of memorableness that she didn't know who I was. Totally tricked her.
Here is also that video ends with the Heritage Foundation logo and give you a sense of like just how sort of like institutionalized this transphobia is within the Republican conservative system, and this is all religious fundamentalism.
Yeah,
it is all religious fundamentalism and an attempt to impose their religious values on the rest of the country, and they're doing this because the number of people who sign up for this religious fundamentalism is diminishing.
And we know that the right is fluid in its targets, but when they choose to target something over a multi-year period and milk it for all it's worth, they'll like blitz. They'll keep at it. We played a clip yesterday from 2013 of Pat Robertson on his show on 700 Club saying, you know, it's a little, I don't know if I agree with it, but if someone wants to identify as a woman, there are people out there, and it's live and let live is basically what he said. And you just see...
But Pat Robertson is the voice of reason, folks.
But you see, like, if Pat Robertson was on, I don't even know if that fossil is still broadcasting, but like, if he was on today and he was asked that question, you know it'd be entirely different.
Yeah.
It'd be 100% different.
Yeah.
Because now they are the group to demonize for other people to make electoral gains or media clicks. Like the group, it's a wheel. The group that they choose to hate shifts, but the tactics remain the same.
It is. It's always a rotating wheel. Like throughout history. It's like a certain like person of color, or it's a trans person, or a fucking whatever the fuck they decide, a religion they don't like. It's just like so fucking tired, like. It's the thing about hierarchies, is that it requires like an other that's like beneath you. Like, it's really fucked up.
And right now trans people are incredibly vulnerable, and Chaya Raichik, deeply disturbed human being. That's all I'll say about that.
War on Santa. Sam, if Trump goes down for falsifying business records, how long before they come for any of us? Did you make a complete and accurate record of that AC purchase and resale? Yes. Are Emma's almonds a legit business lunch? I don't know if she claims those. Is Bradley really logging hours for watching right-wing programming or squeezing in some reality shows? I mean, we all know the answer to that. Don't get me started on expenses related to Matt's audiobooks. Slippery slope, sir. I mean, there's a point you're making. I get it. But what Matt really needs to worry about is more like those, those trademark or rights people coming after him.
Oh.
Sam's clogged toilet. Are you really going to stand there and let the Emma Jordy report take over? Soon you'll always be audio only. Beware, my friend. Also, can I recommend a Corky 99 4 Max performance plunger for the office?
What
Saul says to me today, he goes, yesterday, he's like, can I come on the show this summer again? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I'm going to reveal more embarrassing things about you.
Oh.
He's got to be tactful about that.
I was like, well, we'll see.
God, he really has a taste of it, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Incredible.
Ask them, and then go to the Senate, ask the same question.
Yes. Another Congress confrontation.
They're cowards. They're all cowards. They won't do anything to save the lives of our children at all. Cowards. Pressure them. Force them to respond to the question, why the hell won't you do anything to save America's children? And let them explain that all the way up until election day on 2024. Let them explain it all the way up to election day on 2024. Here, I'm talking about gun violence.
You know, there's never been...
I'm talking about gun violence.
...in a school that allows teachers to carry.
Oh my God. Carry guns? You think more guns lead to more death? More guns lead to more death. Look at the data. You're not looking at any data. You're carrying the water for the gun lobby. Look at the data. More guns lead to more deaths. States that have open carry laws have more death. States that have open carry laws have more death. Are you listening to what I'm saying? Calm down. Children are dying. 9-year-old children. Because the solution is not arming teachers. Have you ever worked in a school? 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 It's a yes or no question.
Clearly, Republican.
It's a yes or no question. Amazing. Everyone should be this mad. Deadass. Everyone should be this mad.
Thomas Massie ain't never worked in a school, but
they should have been this mad before a trans person did a shooting.
he got schooled that day. That's right, because Bowman had taught in the Bronx. He also founded a public middle school there where he was a principal for decades. He gives a damn about the kids and the fact that they're dying because the Republicans want to keep getting their coins from the NRA. 6 lives are on the table now, including 7 of the shooter. And we have the picture of those 6 lives that were innocent here. And those are the individuals who Bowman were speaking out for in that moment. And that's what he feels, and rightly so. So many of us across the nation, including myself, have felt it. We simply want meaningful change. I don't think I'm asking for too much. I don't think Bowman's asking for too much. And I don't think America's asking for too much. AB, what am I missing here?
I'm not sure what you're missing, to be quite honest with you. I guess at this point, it's if everyone's hands is tied, then who does the responsibility of fixing this issue fall on? Because that's all we continue to hear is that we can't do more. We can't do more to fix it. We can't do more to protect children. We don't want to give up our gun rights. So whose job is it to make sure that we are protecting the very population of people that we say that we love and we want to make sure that they're good to go, right? I think to go to Marjorie Taylor's point, it's getting, I'm fed up because at this point you feed so much false information. Like you take apples and call them oranges. When you talk about how we're protecting the president and how we protect celebrities and stuff like that, you're really gaslighting, because the people who are in charge of protecting those people, not only are they screened to make sure that they are qualified to protect these people, but they are also trained on using whatever weapons that they use for protection. So let's start there. I have another issue too, just with how the conversation that Mr. Bowman had, because people were labeling it as like, oh, they had this heated conversation, this heated argument. No, I think it was passionate, right? And it was well informed, and it was a conversation that needed to be had and that people need to hear. like citizens, American citizens, hearing our representatives and our congressional leaders advocating and saying out loud, we need this type of change and it needs to happen now. In addition to that, like, let's be clear about this is a Black man, and Black people, when we get passionate and we feel about something, we get loud, right? And we get animated about what we say, but it's so that you feel the emotion and the intensity of the situation that we are faced with. Watching children, defenseless children, lose their lives because some selfish individuals want to keep guns on the streets that don't need to be on the streets is terrible. And you should feel that passion. And I think more congressional leaders should be just as passionate about arguing to change legislation as we just saw from Bowman.
Well, I could definitely tell you what I would like to see is action. Whether people are screaming from the rafters or whether they are quietly drafting amendments, my God, just do something. That's the thing, and I totally understand why Bowman
Literally do fucking anything. Anything.
was as passionate, as you noted, as he is, because a lot of us have felt the triggering feeling of seeing more children die. At the same time, I need action, and I know that's what you want too, is for people to actually take the steps that are necessary to make meaningful change.
Hi friends, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. My name is Bailey Sarian, and I'd like to welcome you to my study and to my podcast, Dark History. If you're new here, hi. This is a chance to tell the story like it is and to share the history of stuff we would never think about. All you need to do is sit back, relax, and just let me ramble and tell you about that hot, juicy history goss. I need a Red Bull injection. Okay, so maybe if you're new here or not or whatever, I've talked about Hearst Castle so many times. You've heard me mention this castle over and over again because it's always just fascinated me. I mean, a castle in California?
Amazing.
Growing up, I thought the only royalty we had here in California was like Ronald McDonald. But when you approach this gigantic property, the castle starts to emerge on top of the hill, and it just gets like bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you see the whole thing. Sounds like I'm being nasty. And then you see this whole thing with this big, mysterious, beautiful castle that's just overlooking the ocean. It gets you thinking.
It's so beautiful. Look at that thing. Gorgeous. I like the mix of styles. It's got a lot of different things going on. It's like some gothic elements. Maybe a little Baroque. I can't really tell what's on the, what the fuck is this called? What's it called? A Pieta, I think? Pieta? Is that right? Need to brush up on my architecture. That's not it. No. God damn it. What the fuck's it called? Freeze. A freeze? Is that right? Yes. In the freeze. Oh my god. That took me way too long. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what's in the freeze, but it looks really intricate. Like it could be Baroque. This is like a Japanese style roof. There's Yeah, I don't know. A Byzantine pillar, I think. Good stuff.
Mysterious, beautiful castle that's just overlooking the ocean. It gets you thinking, like, what is the deal with this place? Why is it here? So you can actually tour the property, which I was so excited about. So while I was on the property, I could hear the like waves crashing and there was this fog surrounding me. I mean, the place just had this mystical vibe. I mean, I had to know more. Like, who lived here? It seemed to me like it was some kind of evil villain. Or maybe it was just actual royalty. Well, turns out there is indeed a man who may not have been royalty, but he was the kind of guy who created an entire castle for himself just because he thought he deserved it. Well, and because he's like, I can. Boo for you. A castle that would go down in history as one of the most notorious party spots in America. I mean, this castle was filled with millions of dollars of stolen art, Hollywood megastars, illegal booze, orgies, and exotic animals from all over the world. I'm talking about Hearst Castle. As we can see, we have Joan here. If you can't see, Joan is dressed up in her... She's going to the bowl. She is going to some kind of bowl. She looks fabulous. Girl, you really went all out for this. Good for you. She's feeling real good after that boob job. Don't blame her. And the man who created Hearst Castle, his name, William Randolph Hearst. Now, you might remember him from our yellow journalism episode that I did last season, but overall, he owned a bunch of newspapers and was essentially one of the creators of clickbait and that naughty F word, fake news. Yeah, he started that. But he wasn't just good at stirring the pot to sell newspapers. This guy was like a professional at spending money, and I mean, he had this castle to prove it. And if you were anyone of great importance, you would get an invite. Jeff Allen, who was a tour guide at Hearst Castle for 30 years, said, quote, "There was an old saying in Hollywood that there were two groups of stars, the ones who had been to Hearst Castle and the ones who had said they'd been to Hearst Castle." End quote. Okay,
shady.
I mean, he could give us a little bit more. Give me all that hot gossip. So vague. If you don't know, Hearst Castle is enormous, and the buildings are over 80,000 square feet on the inside. It's essentially a tourist attraction now, and you might even recognize it from Lady Gaga's music video, Guy, where she's dancing around a really fancy pool with a bunch of hot guys, I think. I can't remember, but I remember the pool. Yeah, that was at Hearst Castle. But back in its heyday, it had its own zoo, and that pool I mentioned, well, it fits 345,000 gallons of water and is surrounded by Roman columns and expensive marble. But to understand why it exists in the first place, it's important to understand the guy who built it. So let's get right to the source of young William's trauma. He had mommy and daddy issues. Yeah, we're just gonna start off with that. It wasn't just one, it was both. So young William was born into a wealthy family and lived quite a privileged life. I mean, it was all thanks to his dad. His name was George Hearst. So George, he was born into poverty and barely literate, and he just really struggled growing up. His life would change when he struck gold. Well, actually, silver. During the California gold rush, which happened in the late 1800s, he found a buttload of silver, an amount that equaled $3.3 million in today's money. So he was set. George's wealth set him up for the life he had always wanted. He goes on to own a bunch of businesses, and he even gets elected to the US Senate in 1887, and he gets into the newspaper business. Now, owning a newspaper, especially at this time, was a very big deal. I mean, people, first of all, actually read the newspaper back then. You know, it was all they had. That's how they got all of their information. And owning it put you in control of the conversation being had. The narrative. This man, he grew up in poverty. He couldn't read. He didn't really have anything going for him and literally hit the jackpot. I mean, many think of him as the definition of the American dream. coming from nothing and ended up with everything. I'm talking servants, multiple properties. He's living comfortably. And it's just so ironic that a man who couldn't read owned newspapers. Right? I think maybe he could read by then, but there's no information about that. George ends up falling in love and marrying someone from his hometown, a teacher named Phoebe, also his distant cousin. Oh my God. And in 1863, they had their only child, William Randolph.
Maybe she taught him how to read. She was a teacher after all.
Hearst. Now, George was a bit of a workaholic, so growing up, William spent most of the time with his mother. And then the two of them would go on bougie little mother-son Euro trips that would end up lasting like a whole year. They toured castles throughout Europe, went to the world's most famous museums, and studied their architecture. So, William, from a very young age, was very cultured. Right off the bat, he knows what good art looks like. He knows good architecture. These trips were his core memories. So when William did spend time with his dad, it would be on one of the many plots of land the family owned. And one of these purchases was 48,000 acres in a place called San Simeon, a town a few hundred miles away from Los Angeles in California. It honestly looks like a little storybook village, just right by the ocean. It's on the Pacific coast. It's so pretty. You gotta see it. Now, George didn't really care about building anything on this land. He just kind of liked having it. So little William and his family spent time there camping. But it definitely wasn't like an everyday person type of camping. George had these really big World War I army tents erected by his servants on one of the hills that looked out at the ocean. So these tents were the size of a whole apartment, and they actually were set up around the entrances to the house. So even though there was a house, they got to tell themselves that they were roughing it. They were campers. They were essentially glamping, which is hey, did they invent glamping? Maybe. But this was just the way William grew up, it was his normal. In one of the biographies written about him, it was said that William didn't even know that poverty existed because he spent so much of his time in his mom's little kangaroo pouch. He just kind of walked through life thinking everyone was a millionaire. And everywhere William went, people treated him like a freaking prince because of the Hearst family reputation for wealth and power. Even when he went with his dad to meet the president of Mexico, young William knew that the ruler was, quote, in his father's pocket, end quote. And all this gave William a real privileged rich boy attitude that he would carry with him for the rest of his life. During his time at Harvard, because of course he went to Harvard, he would throw keggers right out in the open, on campus. Not afraid of anyone. He's like, my dad's a senator. Who's gonna stop me? And William wasn't just partying. He also just was a big fan of pranks. Pranks. He would even send chamber pots, which are little ceramic potties. Yeah, they're little ceramic potties. Okay, and they're called chamber pots. And he would send these to his professors with little paintings of the professors inside the bowl. Which, some people were like, ooh, what a diss. And I'm like, I'm not sure if it was a compliment or not, but, wouldn't you want to shit on your own face? I kind of want to. I'd be like, all right, thank you. Okay.
No.
Then in 18...
No, I wouldn't. What the fuck? Bailey, what? What the fuck? I don't think that I would. I feel like that's something to investigate in therapy.
85, he pulled one prank too many and finally got expelled. But that didn't mean anything to him. Well, it wasn't over for William. After college, he gets into the newspaper business just like his dad, and he ends up taking over the San Francisco Examiner. And it turns out he's actually really good at it. He knew, it didn't matter if what he was printing in his newspaper was true. It just has to be juicy in order to sell. So here's an example of one of his headlines from February of 1898. It said, quote, crisis is at hand, Spanish treachery. Just yelling at you because it's all caps. It's oh my God, chill. And then, quote, the spirit of war pervades the breasts of all Americans. I don't know. I guess he was just really good at stirring the pot. And this, in turn, made him a fortune and gave him a lot of power. Early 1900s, William was essentially controlling the media. Around this time, William also had a bit of a reputation as a stage door Johnny. I know, I was like, what's that? But it's basically a groupie for Broadway shows. Yeah. But it wasn't because he appreciated the art of theater. It was there because he loved him some showgirls. This is actually how he met his wife, stage actress Millicent Wilson. He waited for her on the side stage door, smoking a cig, just waiting to take her out on a hot date. Even though he was in his 30s and she was 16, William has his eye on the prize, and he ends up marrying Millicent, and they end up having 5 kids together. But pretty early on in their marriage, it's very clear that William, he didn't want to give up his playboy ways. Like we've learned here many times before, divorce wasn't really an acceptable thing for quite some time. So Millicent moves to New York to live her life, and William stays in California to live his. But they remain married, so you know that's gonna work out. And honestly, in my book, what a dream. Perfect marriage. Around 1918, William began a relationship with another woman many people consider his actual life partner. Her name was Marion Davies, who was also a young actress. He definitely had a type, okay? He just liked that new car smell, you know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, William's daddy, George, dies, leaving his entire fortune, properties, and papers all to his wife, Phoebe, not William. Not getting this money drove William crazy. I mean, George left everything to his wife because William had a reputation for being straight up reckless with his money. And he's like, but I have big dreams. And I'm a grown-ass man. That's not fair. He finally got it all on April 13th, 1919, when a nasty influenza epidemic arrived in the US and took out his mom, Phoebe Hearst. Now, Phoebe left a legacy as a very charitable, likable person, I mean, especially in California. She also left 56-year-old William Hearst everything. Her art collection, the family fortune of $10 million, which is like $172 million in today's money, countless other properties, including that campsite in San Simeon. William and his mom were extremely close, so when she died, he was devastated. But also he was kind of like low-key happy because now he had total free reign of the family fortune. Woohoo! He's like, I waited for this! But in 1919, everything changes. He turns to a family friend and one of the most talented architects of the time, Julia Morgan. Julia. She was a bad bitch. She was the first licensed female architect in the state of California. Round of applause. Great. And she had an amazing career even before she started working with the Hearsts. She was the perfect person for William to collaborate with to spend all that money he just inherited. So William's goal was to create one of the greatest buildings in America, something people would remember him by. So William goes with a land that's been in the family since he was a kid, that campground. He told Julia, quote, I get tired of going up there and camping in tents. I'm getting a little old for that. I'd like to get something that would be more comfortable, end quote. He apparently wanted the decorations to be tasteful and simple, but pretty soon after construction started, William did what he does best. He let the power go all to his head. And because he was the one signing the checks, I mean, people listened. He turned the San Simeon land into a mega property. The property was located on a huge hill which overlooked the ocean and had beautiful, gorgeous views. On the hill, he built 4 houses and 5 guest houses. The main house was called Casa Grande, and it was 68,500 square feet and had a total of 115 rooms. Yeah, that's a lot. It had 38 bedrooms, 30 fireplaces, and 42 bathrooms. So plenty of places to take a crap in peace, you know?
Why the fuck do you need so many?
That's nice. It is nice when you need that quiet bathroom in the corner that no one goes to, you know? Casa Grande also had 14 sitting rooms. Yeah, whatever that means, right? I guess they sat in those rooms. Any room could really be a sitting room if you just try hard enough. Then there were 3 guest houses on the property. They had a total of 46 rooms, including lobbies. Yes, they had guest houses with lobbies. The castle also had 3 chefs, 3 butlers, and tons of servants. There were 2 swimming pools, the Neptune pool, which was outside, and the indoor one, which was called the Roman pool. And the way Hearst Castle is decorated, it's just all over the place. The main house is in a Spanish style, but most of the guest houses are Mediterranean. It's very maximalist. Yeah, he's one of those for sure. And then something else I noticed when I toured the castle, you can tell William planned out every single detail on the property. I mean, it's something from the most beautiful movie you've ever seen. It's so gorgeous. William did a lot of art buying, like paintings and sculptures, and it's been reported that he spent about $1 million a year on art. I mean, the guy even brought in ancient sculptures from Egypt, and no idea how he got that, which very questionable. And honestly, well, sadly, it's just not surprising. It's like rich person 101 behavior. Steal from Egypt. I bet you he was one of those weirdos snorting mummy powder. But the reason he did all of this was because he wanted Hearst Castle to be special, and not just the art hanging inside. So he hired an art dealer named Arthur Bine, who had connections all over the world, especially in Spain. He was known for having under-the-table dealings because the things that he would buy for William, they weren't really things that were for sale. Bine would swoop in and buy up pieces of buildings from the war wreckage in the Spanish Civil War, or one-of-a-kind Art Deco cathedral ceilings from Spain. And if Arthur couldn't get entire pieces of a building, he would just look for, let's say, a piece of a Roman column, and then he'd put on his Bob the Builder hat and recreate the rest to just match it, look like it, you know? Which is why some of the buildings at Hearst Castle look kind of like a mismatched puzzle. It's fun though, I like it. William even said, quote, "I know it is partly made up, but it is effective," end quote. I mean, honestly, all you have to do is squint a little bit and everything matches. When you squint, looks like it matches. You won't even notice. Now, my personal favorite part of Hearst Castle has nothing to do with the art or the 5 million rooms. Well, I kind of love all of the bathrooms. That's comforting. Anyways, but it's something that William had put on the property that really set him apart from other castles in history. Back then, Hearst Castle was home to California's largest private zoo. William loved animals, especially the ones that other people couldn't have. Hearst Castle was called the Hearst Garden of Comparative Zoology. Sounds very official. So his zoo was home to over 300 animals. In the fields around the property, you would find animals grazing peacefully next to each other, like antelopes, exotic types of deer. There's llamas, kangaroos, ostriches, emus, sheep. You name it, it was probably there. And like I said before, it was all in the details for him. The ride up to Hearst Castle is like this long, it's not long, but it's kind of long. It has a lot of turns though, because you have to like go up this hill. He put in feeding cages for animals like grizzly bears, cougars, chimpanzees along the way as kind of like a little sneak preview of things to come. There were some flashier animals like giraffes, lions, tigers, and elephants. And they would be in large fenced-in habitats not far from the main part of the castle. So guests could like walk right up to them, be like, "Look, I'm touching an animal, Earl. Earl, come look at me, I'm touching this."
Dude, that's so crazy. The fuck? Private zoos? Why was that ever a thing, dude? What are you talking about? Like, in someone's home. Like, huh? Just let people do whatever if they were rich enough? I guess we still do. Oh, wait. Keck, wait.
That's what they were really there for. Come look at me, Earl. So William even named an elephant after his longtime lover, Marion. But she was apparently pissed off to be sharing a name with an elephant. Valid. William also had this ape named Jerry that the guests loved. to mess with. They'd throw a rope into his habitat and start playing tug of war with him. Not ideal to do, you know. William said he wanted his guests to feel as though they were driving through an area populated by, quote, interesting and exotic animals in their natural state. In cages. Oh, that's funny. If he really wanted that, I don't know. Like, you know, don't bring him to the castle. You know? Okay. But all right, sure. The Hearsts were basically like the Rockefellers of the West Coast. I guess he saw this castle as a sign of status. But not even the Rockefellers could top the circus that was partying at Hearst Castle. William would host extravagant events and wild parties inside the castle walls. There would be the luxurious bedrooms, the pools, and the over-the-top everything just would really set the stage for party hosting. Now, all of these rooms weren't just for looking. I mean, this place was like Candyland for the rich and famous. It was a real-life Great Gatsby situation. William, like mentioned before, was a bit of a control freak, maybe a diva, but he needed exactly everything to be the way he wanted it to be. I mean, even coming down to his guests. Now, every castle event started with a guest list. Sometimes it was 40 people on a quiet weekend. And sometimes he'd go balls out and would literally invite hundreds of people to just go off. And William was a control freak when it came to the whole who he was associated with. Like, if you were in, you were in. And if he didn't like you, you were out. Bye. People had to be invited to Hearst Castle by King William himself. So an invite was much more than just a typical Friday night dinner at the Olive Garden with your Aunt Barbara. An invite to the castle was like a badge of honor to anyone invited. I mean, even Hollywood stars. It was a sign that you made it to like this cool inner circle. And William would just like handpick the guest list and then send out invites one of two ways. Like he would either call you up or there'd be some kind of classy handwritten note. So if you got one of these coveted invites from William, girl, it was like, welcome to the tippy top of the social food chain. You made it. Welcome. VIP section right this way. In these invites and in general, William always referred to the castle as the ranch, which was so weird because it was obviously a castle, not a ranch. Like, what kind of ranch has 38 bedrooms and 40 baths? I've never seen those on Zillow. Well, okay, anyways, this would be considered an example of William wanting to come across as like a normal, salt of the earth kind of guy who just didn't have every opportunity in life served to him on a silver platter. A ranch was humbling, a castle sounded too over the top, which is what he wanted, but he wanted to appear humble. Very confusing man. Now, most people wouldn't dare RSVP no to a castle invite. One, because who would pass up on an opportunity to hang at the castle? And two, people knew that William was petty. Katharine Hepburn, an iconic actress from the golden age of Hollywood, one time she got an invite and like nobody knows why, but she had to turn down the offer, okay? And it was a decision she had regretted because after that, he ghosted her and she never received another invite again. She was like, oh shit. Sorry, William. But like,
oh no, what the fuck? He held that grudge forever. Oh my god. What a petty little bitch.
Like, he just doesn't forget. But 99.99999% of the time, people RSVP'd yes without thinking twice. And these invites weren't a casual, like, come by whenever situation. William was very specific about his invites. The events would always start, right on time, on the dot. And if you were a good guest at dinner, a lot of the times your invite was open-ended. Now, this technically meant that guests could stay as long as they wanted. But the thing is, some Hollywood stars, they tended to stay a bit too long for William's liking. Hello, why would they want to go back to their boring mansion? They just want to stay there with the animals.
Yeah, there's a zoo. You've got 52 bathrooms or whatever, like 2 pools. Why would they leave? Honestly. I would just squat there and hide out, and he might not ever find out. It's crazy. I'll be back in a second.
Look, Earl, I'm touching an elephant. Why would you?
No!
open-ended. Now, this technically meant that guests could stay as long as they wanted. But the thing is, some Hollywood stars, they tended to stay a bit too long for William's liking. I mean, hello, why would they want to go back to their boring mansion? They just want to stay there with the animals. Look, Earl, I'm touching an elephant. I mean, why would you want to leave that? It was said that the longer a guest overstayed their welcome, the further their chair got from William at dinner time. Once a person's chair was at the far end of the table, I mean, as far as possible from William, and that was the castle's way of saying, pack your bags, bitch, it's time to go. Get out of here, scum. The castle's official guest list over the years, I mean, was enormous. And it was bananas how many megastars loved to go there. Charlie Chaplin, Jean Harlow, Clark Gable, Greta Garbo, Cary Grant. They all partied at Hearst Castle. Then there were the powerful heads of studios who showed up like Jack Warner, the head of Warner Brothers, and Louis B. Mayer, who was running MGM. So many saw it as like the perfect opportunity to network, obviously. But like William wasn't just a Hollywood clout chaser. I mean, his newspapers and radio stations gave him global influence. So I mean, he was buddy-buddy with some big-name politicians, like US President Jennifer Coolidge. Just kidding, Calvin Coolidge. Oh, and that British guy, he was friends with Winston Churchill. Yeah, he's like, no big deal, whatever. We're like chill. Okay, so what did one of these coveted weekend getaways look like at the castle, you ask? Let me tell you. Usually they were hosted by William and Marian, who was essentially his wife at this point, but not in the eyes of the law, especially because Millicent, she was still living up in the East Coast, licking caviar off her fingers and in no rush to get a divorce, right? Good for her. Now, William and Marian did their best to try and keep things classy within the party. Okay, so a bunch of people would come over for the weekend. When guests would arrive, they'd be escorted by a butler to the library or like one of those millions of sitting rooms. And if he wasn't too busy, William would swing by, say hello, sometimes help the people settle into their guest bedrooms, you know. So there was always a lot going on at all times. But anyway, some weekends were on the more, relaxed side. But relaxed at the castle had a very different definition. For example, if you wanted morning coffee, the only place you could get it was at the buffet, which was in the main house. And William didn't want people to lay in bed all day. So when mealtime rolled around, guests had to show up promptly at the scheduled time, which is like not bad at all. That's not really asking. It's like you're staying at my mansion. The least you could do was show up to breakfast, bitch. Okay. Now, after everyone ate, guests had a few options. There were like a variety of things you could do. If you're one of those sporty people, you could play tennis because they had this huge grand tennis court, which was right next door. Or you could go down to the private beach for a private stroll. Or if you felt like having just a relaxing but bougie morning, you could drive around the property in a flashy car that had a chauffeur ready and waiting to take you around and show you the world. Some guests would hang back and play board games or do puzzles with Marian. She loved a puzzle. William was also a fan of taking ridiculously long horse rides around the property. He would do like 8 hours, crotch on a saddle, chafing. Oof. One movie director remembered that he was forced into a horse riding expedition where William took everyone through the mountains, and the director described it as sadistic. I mean, I guess he didn't have a good time. But who's gonna complain to the guy that's paying for everyone's weekend getaway, you know? I'll bounce on a horse for 8 hours, acting like everything's fine and dandy. I'll suck it up. Let's get back to today's story, huh? Before the main event, people had to report for pre-dinner drinks exactly at 7:30 p.m. in the assembly room where the murder was about to take place. Sounds like a game of Clue. But just because it was like a dinner at a fancy palace didn't mean there was an open bar. Guests would be allowed 1 martini before dinner, and it would purposely be very weak. Nobody could get a good buzz off of it, and some people would get a second martini if they secretly chugged the first one and no one saw, you know? This is all because William had a thing about drinking too much. I guess because growing up, his dad was a big-time alcoholic, and I guess someone else in his life was as well, Marian. So he's obviously a little sensitive about people getting, wasted. And also, since he's controlling everything, the 1 or 2 martini rule made sure he wouldn't have to see people drunk. Honestly smart. You don't want people sloppy around your fancy place throwing up in bushes and shit. But it made a lot of people upset because it's a party. And then when 9 p.m. rolled around, it was time for the actual dinner, and everyone would gather in the grand dining hall. The grand dining hall looked just like the dining hall from Harry Potter. I'm at least told this. I still haven't seen the Harry Potters. Don't come for me. But I've been on the ride, so I get the gist of it. Okay? I even took one of those tests to see what house I belonged to, and it was like, I belonged to like Huff and Puff or something. Let me know. Slytherin or something. I'm Huff and Puff. Anyway, so the dining hall looked just like the Harry Potter ones, okay? And it's all like, whoa, grand. And all 40 guests could like easily fit in this dining hall. Now, if you're having dinner on this relaxing weekend at the castle, you'd probably get some classic American steakhouse food. They would have prime rib, baked potatoes, buttered string beans. Finish it off with an apple pie. Yes, daddy. I will take that, you know? After
that all sounded so good. Oh my God, I'm so hungry all of a sudden.
dinner, everyone headed to the castle's private movie theater. William would usually force everyone to like watch one of Marion's movies that she was a star of. Yeah, you know? Yeah, you're one of those people and you're like, oh, okay, we fucking get it. And people there may have been thinking like, finally, some spicy love scenes. Which, wrong, because William had any spicy love scenes completely edited out of the movies because he would get uncomfortable watching them around other people. Which I kind of get that. It's like that first time you watched an R-rated movie with your parents and then like, oh no, there's a titty and it's awkward. And you're like, what do I do? Like that. Now, as I dug more and more into William and his castle, the more I was like, oh, you know who this is reminding me of? My Super Sweet 16. Yeah, remember that show? I mean, think about it. This spoiled brat is just playing with daddy's money and telling everyone how to be. Like, no, I want to do a horsey ride now. And then like, everyone must watch my favorite movie. William is definitely a character from My Super Sweet 16. But anyways, Gloria Vanderbilt, a famous socialite whose family we talked about in the Gilded Age episode, has a great quote about life at the castle. She said, quote, life in this Hysterian empire is lived according to the disciplinary measure laid down by its dictator, end quote. Okay, go off, Gloria, go off. And to Gloria's point, Hearst Castle had some very specific rules. Rule number 1, no drunkenness, which is weird because he did have like a stocked wine cellar during Prohibition, but fair. Rule number 2, no bad language or inappropriate jokes, which again is a little strange because William's own newspapers were pretty questionable. And the best one of all, number 3, no sexual relations between unmarried couples, which also is kind of funny because you see, William was literally disrespecting his marriage while his wife is living in New York. So, okay, all of his rules did not apply to him, obviously. Knowing all that information, guests kind of looked around and were like, these rules are a little hypocritical, no? But William insisted people had to live by them as long as they wanted to sleep over in the castle. And the real reason why people wanted to put up with all that noise is because it allowed them to go to the most exclusive events at the most exclusive property in all of America. He would throw these like huge costume parties and hundreds of people would attend. I mean,
dude, the opulence. It's like, it would be kind of cool in camp if it wasn't for the crushing poverty of America.
I mean, they were a favorite at the castle. Many people wanted to see celebrities and politicians just acting all goofy. I mean, that's why I'd want to go. But whatever the reason, they loved these damn things and went all out for them. Some of the biggest ones were the covered wagon, aka Wild West theme, which is fun. Another asked guests to come as their favorite historical figures. Charlie Chaplin went as Napoleon, but one of the more strange themes was babies. All the guests were told they had to come dressed as babies. I know, you're probably picturing bonnets, binkies, booties, and bibs. And when you realize William was around his early 70s at this point, just wonder if he was walking around the castle in a giant custom diaper. Like, is it that kind of baby? What else kind of baby can it be? But the biggest costume party they threw at the castle went down in 1937, where Marion planned a very detailed themed party for William's 74th birthday. The theme of the party was circus. I know, my favorite Britney album. What about you? To really drive home the theme, in case the entire private zoo wasn't enough, an entire wall of the castle was ripped out so they could bring in a whole merry-go-round. And then after the party, they rebuilt the wall as if the merry-go-round had always been there. Marion and William weren't happy with people just showing up in their own cheap, spirit Halloween outfits. Every party featured real movie costumes that were driven directly to the castle from Hollywood studios. And these outfits weren't just trucked there and dumped wherever. Expert costumers from the studios would go up there with them to help the people get dressed. And a few sources say that William would go through all the costumes and hand pick what every guest would wear. Yeah. That's a little weird. Linda, you're going to be a slutty polar bear this year, okay? Kenneth, sexy snake, all right? Sweet 16. Now, if you think these costume parties were lacking drama, oof, you'd be wrong. First of all, think of all the personalities at these events. They're actors and actresses. All they know is drama. So everyone thinks, they're the belle of the ball. And everyone wants to make their own statement, including Norma Shearer, who was a huge actress at the time. Norma was invited to a costume party that was all American themed, but Norma was like, okay, I have a better idea though. So she came dressed up as Marie Antoinette, the last queen of France before getting her head
It's a little on the nose, isn't it?
chopped off. So you see, she was playing Marie in a big Hollywood movie and thought it would be slick to wear the actual movie costume to the castle. The gown was so gigantic that the back seat of Norma's car had to be taken out to fit in. Serious commitment. And at dinner, it took up 4 chairs. Now, this was like a big middle finger to William because, for one, he had just been kicked out of the entire country of France just before this. A New York Times headline said it was for, quote, hostile actions, end quote. But that was all I could find. And the other reason this was a dig was because Norma beat Marion out to play Marie Antoinette in the very movie she was starring in. Ooh, it was petty. She was like, oh, what? You were supposed to play Marie? That's so funny. Because I got it instead. It was cold. Drama. I guess you just had to be there. Wild. I was a fly out on the wall. I was there. I went back in time. And the drama at these parties continued because not everyone followed the castle rules the entire time. I mean, that's free. Now let's get back to today's episode. So Marion, while she was seated next to her little boo-boo, William, I guess this one time, a big old flask had just fell out of her purse and it was filled with gin, which, hello, sin. William clocked it and he was not happy. But Marion played it off. She leaned over to William and was like, hey, honey, how do you like my new perfume? And he did a little sniff as she scooped up the flask and tried to cover it, secretly trying to hide that it was her own flask. Apparently, Marion would scheme with other guests and strategize ways to keep hard liquor secret from William. There's always one who does that. The plan they came up with was also kind of gross but genius. Marion and her pals and other naughty guests would hide booze in different bathrooms, but not in a cabinet under the sink. They would hide the good stuff in the frickin' toilet. Yeah, look, in my mind, I don't think it was in the actual bowl. I think it was probably in the tank itself where the water's at. Because I couldn't imagine someone putting alcohol in with pee, right? That makes no sense, right? Anyways, but they were doing that. I mean, look, there was almost 50 bathrooms. No one's gonna find it. Take Howard Hughes, for example. Now, among other things, Hughes was a world-famous pilot, director, producer, American businessman, and he was also a Nepo baby, just like William. Some of you may remember that Leonardo DiCaprio played Hughes in the movie The Aviator. And that movie was also based on a book called Howard Hughes, The Secret Life. Now, in that very biography, we get a very juicy story about some things that happened at the castle that William would not have approved of. Hughes and his best friend Ben were both known in Hollywood as free spirits who just did whatever the hell they wanted, whenever they wanted. Now these two guys would head out in LA, they would pick up young ladies, go back to Ben's, and get a little freaky. And I'm not talking like your standard missionary. These boys were having all types of fun. Foursomes, Eiffel Towering, rusty trombones, just all over the place. So one weekend, Hughes and his buddy were invited for a nice stay at the castle. So they drive up there, they settle in. But instead of an 8-hour horseback ride with William, these guys were looking to do reverse cowgirl for about 8 hours. As we have learned, castle parties are like the place to be seen, especially if you're an aspiring young actress who wants their big break. And old Howard Hughes knew this. So when he and Ben got to the party, they had their pick of gorgeous women just willing to do whatever they wanted. So the four of them went upstairs and the clothes just came off and they would just go at it. Now, according to the book, they said the only thing that interrupted them were the roars from the lions in the castle's private zoo. I know, shut up, Mufasa, you're gonna give this away. And it all got to the point where it seemed like the guests were just kind of messing with William and totally ignoring the castle rules, like they're mocking him. I mean, he used to be a prankster, this William guy, but as he got older, he didn't really fancy prank.
Lighten up, William. Have a little fun, William.
Anymore. One time, Harpo Marx, a famous actor, comedian, whose first name spells Oprah backwards, fun fact, broke into the castle vault, stole a bunch of mink coats, and decided to dress up the statues all over the property. Now, I guess it had rained that day, so all those pretty furs had gotten ruined. And when William saw this, Mr. Super Sweet 16 William was pissed. To be fair, I mean, wouldn't you be pissed if all your expensive furs got ruined from the rain? Anyways, he got even more pissed when he got pranked by Cary Grant. Grant, with the help of William's son, made his way into an airplane, most likely on William's private airfield. He loaded the thing up with sacks of flour, like cooking flour, and then he took off. As they flew over the castle, Grant dropped the sacks of flour like bombs all over the property. I'm not sure why he did this, but honestly, I think it's hilarious. I'm not drunk, William. William did not think this was funny. By the time Grant got back to the castle, he found his bags were packed and waiting for him at the front door. Ooh, you pissed her off? Now, allegedly, William kicked him out, and Grant wasn't the only one to get the boot from the castle. Dorothy Parker, who was a famous cultural writer, got kicked out of the castle for having one too many cocktails. And then there's David Niven, who was an Oscar-winning actor. I don't know how William found out, but apparently David had a stash of hard liquor under his bed. And as soon as William found the stash, he threw David's ass out. By 1937, the parties were over. William was spending cash like a freaking maniac for so long that it finally caught up with him. Some experts report that he spent nearly $50 million on his art collection alone. Then another $50 million was spent on New York real estate, which at any other time in history would have been very smart, except that this happened during the Great Depression and his real estate investments were tanking. And he hung on to the newspapers that were losing him millions of dollars every year. When all records were put together, William's horrible money management became very clear and alarm bells went off. His company had $125 million of debt, and some experts say that his personal debt was bigger than some countries at the time. Then when World War II broke out and the US Army goes to William and gives him a serious warning, they say, hey, your property is very close to the Pacific Ocean, which means it would be really easy for the Japanese to bomb your location. Maybe take your parties elsewhere? I don't know. And William listened. He and Marion ran off to safety on the East Coast, while all these Hollywood stars just stayed put in Los Angeles. After the war ended, William and Marion went back in 1945 and picked up where they left off. And he was doing what he did best, more construction on the castle and losing more money. His sons pleaded with him to stop. I mean, they were just watching their inheritances just go down the damn drain. But in 1947, because his heart was in such bad shape, William and Marion left the castle for the final time. They moved into a house in Beverly Hills where William lived until he died in 1951 at the age of 88. Marion didn't go to the funeral of her lover out of respect for William's wife, Millicent, which is just, okay, sure. I think that's a one time you would probably show up, but I don't know. Who am I? William's will was 125 pages long, and it gave instructions on what to do with all of his real estate. Hearst Castle was given to the state of California, but the interesting thing is that California didn't accept the gift for 3 years. Then on July 2nd, 1958, the Hearst Castle officially opened as a museum. After they tore down the private zoo back in the 30s, they let some of the animals just go free on the land. And if you visit, to this day, you can see descendants of the castle's animals in the area, especially zebras. They're hanging out along the highway near San Simeon. And to me, that is the most poetic ending to all of this. The animals...
Dude, what? What? The fuck? They just let them go? On the... What? I did not know that there were zebras just chilling. Interesting.
Live on, but there isn't one descendant of William in sight. I guess the whole reason I wanted to do this episode was because I've been to this castle, and naturally I was like, tell me more. Because it's so random. It's so random. There's a castle in the middle of nowhere. Nowhere. But again, like when I did some research, it was like, ooh, this is quite the story. I mean, the costume parties, the sneaking of booze, all the fun. There's this guy who had like everything a person could ever want, but he was just never satisfied. Kind of how these stories always go, right? It just seemed like William was never truly happy. And he kept working on the castle because, I don't know, it's probably better than working on himself. He was the castle, and the castle was him. I mean, his identity was the castle. Yep, deep. Here's an insane stat. If William were to build the castle today, in 2023, it would cost right around $700 million. And that's just the building. If we include all the decor, it would probably be valued at over $1 billion. I know, it's just to think it's wild that in the United States, a country that was created because we didn't like being ruled by a king, this guy wanted to make himself a king. Snaps. Well, everyone, thank you for hanging out with me today. Remember, don't be afraid to ask questions to get the whole story because we deserve that. I'd love to hear your guys' reactions to today's story, or let me know if you've visited Hearst Castle before. So make sure to use the hashtag Dark History over on social media so I can follow along. Also, join me over on my YouTube where you can watch these episodes on Thursday after the podcast airs. And while you're there, also don't forget to check out my murder, mystery, and makeup. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Do it. Go support Bailey in all the places. We love her. We love her, folks. Big fan, friend of the show. Let's listen to a jam or two, shall we? Shuffle. Surprise me.
Pokemon, plural. I said, son, what is that one morning? He said, that's Pokemon. Son, I found out that Pokemon means pocket monster. But why should they carry these monsters in their pocket? Pokemon world is a world a bit demonic. They say it's just a game, but they can't get saved. Our kids are going out on the streets in gangs. I assure you that creature wants to ruin your brain. Say it's just a game, but they can't get saved. They can't go to heaven when they play Pokemon today. Pokemon power, Pokemon witchcraft, Pokemon power, fantasy roleplay, Pokemon power. Pokemon wants to ruin their life today. Pokemon power, Pokemon demons, Pokemon power. They glow in the bulb, Pokemon power. Children might be stabbed, might be glowing away today. Pokemon power, Pokemon, Pokemon power. Pokemon power. Children become the number one Pokemon master. Little reclusive, power-filled monsters tell the spirits what to do. The child is capable of taking these powers and channeling them through their mind. Their mind. Their mind. Mind. Complaining spirit in the dark room. They say it's just a game. Well, they can't get saved. Our kids are going out on the streets in gangs. I assure you that creature wants to ruin your brain. Say it's just a game. Well, they can't get saved. They can't go to heaven when they play Pokemon today. Pokemon power. Pokemon witchcraft. Pokemon power. Fantasy roleplay. Pokemon power. Pokemon wants to ruin their life today. Pokemon power. Pokemon demons. Pokemon power. They glow in the bulb. Pokemon power. Children might be stabbed, might be blowing away today. Pokemon power. Pokemon. Pokemon power. Pokemon power. Children become the #1 Pokemon master today. Pokemon power. Pokemon. Pokemon power. Pokemon power. Children become the #1 Pokemon master. Pokemon power.
Songify this. Before you have to up and go, make sure to watch another.
Such a bop. Love that shit.
If you touch on the Patreon, make sure to touch that bell before you go, so you don't miss a single video. Cause if that happened, you'd be sad, and we want you to be forever glad.
Wow, do you really think I'm hot enough to be a slut?
Any sluts in chat?
Hi, I'm a slut. Do what I want, I don't give a fuck. Post a titty, make a zip nut. Proud bitch, I smile when I suck. Hi, I'm a slut. Do what I want, I don't give a fuck. Doesn't matter if your dick's cut. Always swallow, I heard it's good luck. Hi, I'm a giant whore. Got boys and girls always at my door. Fuck everyone till I'm sore. 3, some 4, some or more. Yeah, I'm a world-class hoe. Get dick down everywhere I go. I like it fast, like it slow. And I always got that post-nut glow. 1, 2, 3, 4, I wanna be a whore. 5, 6, 7, 8, call me slut, it feels great. 1, 2, 3, 4, I wanna be a whore. 5, 6, 7, 8, I like my pussy 8. Hi, I'm a slut. Do what I want, I don't give a fuck. Post a titty, make a zip nut. Proud bitch, I smile when I suck. Hi, I'm a slut. Do what I want, I don't give a fuck. Doesn't matter if your dick's cut. Always swallow, I heard it's good luck.
Hey bitch, like, do you wanna fuck sometime?
Ew, no thanks.
Oh yeah, well, fuck you, bitch. You're a slut.
You think I'm a slut? Thank you. Oh my god, I'm so honored. That's so sweet of you. I'm trying to be the biggest fucking slut in the world, but not with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, I wanna be a whore. 5, 6, 7, 8, call me slut, it feels great. 1, 2, 3, 4, I wanna be a whore. 5, 6, 7, 8, I like my pussy 8. Hi, I'm a slut. Do what I want, I don't give a fuck. Post a titty, make a zip nut. Proud bitch, I smile when I suck. Hi, I'm a slut. Do what I want, I don't give a fuck. Doesn't matter if your dick's cut. Always swallow, I heard it's good luck.
Oops, I left my Spotify playing in the background. That's my bad. Whoopsie. Okay, let's dive into this. This shit is so long. Oh my god.
Whoa, this music cut out.
Yeah.
That was abrupt.
What is this, Rudy Giuliani's podcast?
Right. What the hell?
What up, everybody? Got a great one today.
That's right.
That's right, brother. I got to tell you, I'm close to drop. Right, that's true. You know, we always talk about how well these conservatives monetize with the slot buckets and the...
Yeah.
I don't know, the nootropics.
Gold, Iraqi dinar, cryptocurrencies that immediately are just a rug pull.
So I'm close to finally making my own product.
You're gonna make your own slot bucket.
I've been thinking, you know, Alex Jones. He's got everything. I am close to dropping my own.
Hell yeah, brother! Let's poison the youth.
Consumable, made by Ethan, not yet approved by the FDA, but it will be.
God.
Right? I'm not
Pink
gonna
sauce?
say what it is, but you guys tried it.
Yeah, we did.
Should
What the fuck is it? I need to know.
I just say what it is?
No, I would wait. I don't know. But
I'm
it's awesome.
passionate about it.
This is purely an Ethan endeavor, man. Like this man. Is
You're making a meme bucket.
It's almost no, it's not a slot bucket. It's a real product. It's a passion project.
He's this crazy Israeli clown comedian.
Shut the fuck up! I'm being serious, Jordan.
God, Jordan's coming after you.
I'm just gonna say. I'm gonna say it.
Say it.
I am making today. I am here to announce that I am closing in on the final formulation here today at slotbucket.com/Ethan on a product I like to call Movement, which is essentially a ripoff of Metamucil.
What? I don't even know what Metamucil is.
Most people under 60 don't.
What is a Metamucil?
Oh my god. I'm surprised Hassan doesn't know about this as a fitness bro. It's a fiber supplement. It's good for you to get fiber. And a lot of people don't get enough fiber, so they made a drinkable fiber. It's I think just psyllium husk. Mostly.
It's a powder you take that helps digestion. It's made of
it's for
psyllium
shitting.
husk.
It's for it's literally for dude, you should take less of that. Actually.
I don't think anyone's ever recommended that.
You should take less, whatever, because I'm looking at it right now.
It's the psyllium husk. No, it tightens your shit. Or
It's a fiber supplement.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely should take less of that.
Think so?
Bro, you literally...
Is that why he's shitting all the time? He's been testing the product?
What do you mean? You shit breaks for like 15 minutes.
But for me, I'm passionate about it, and I'll tell you why. It's because psyllium husk like that has been proven to
I'm shitting my pants.
Lower cholesterol, to lower blood sugar spikes,
It's
to
true.
fill you up.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's fiber. It's fiber. It makes sense.
Yeah. It's good for weight loss. It makes you feel fuller longer. It's good stuff. And yeah, it just like speeds up your digestion, therefore your metabolism. It's just good all around.
Take fiber. I take fiber supplements, or I used to take fiber supplements.
Movement.
I love fiber supplements. I used to take fiber
you're gonna love
supplements.
this
I
one.
still do sometimes when I
You get
am
constipated?
No, but I eat a lot of greens.
Okay.
I eat a salad pretty much every meal, like with a shitload of protein on it. So it doesn't really matter to me. But I still take like Smart Sweets, which are fiber gummies. They're gummies, but with a lot of fiber in them.
Gummies with fiber? Oh, please. You should be kissing my butthole because the amount of ice shit actually just shows it works. I got the golden butthole.
I mean, I have
what?
I have a really good shitting schedule.
Nice and tight.
It's firm. It's perfect. Like
same every day.
It's the same every day. It's at the same time every day, and depending on how
girthy.
Tight. Nice
depending on how much I eat. Like if I overeat,
Yeah.
If I don't eat the same thing, if I overeat, then like I'll usually go to the bathroom twice or maybe even sometimes 3 times in the morning.
3 times?
Like 3 separate
In the
occasions.
morning, all in the morning.
All in the morning, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, my BMs have never been. I can never get them on a schedule, man. They're just chaos. It's just chaos.
Well, I think it's because your body's a machine, Ethan.
Thank you.
And not just like I didn't mean like your body specifically.
That's how I heard it.
I meant in general. Your body is a machine, and so your input and your output are going to be relatively stable for that reason, right? Like, if you eat crazy, if you eat like different shit all the time at different times, and you know you have big meals, small meals, all that sort of stuff, then your movement internally is going to reflect that.
Sure.
I did a terrible job at describing that.
I know what you're saying, but I'm not hearing it. You know what I mean? Just not I'm not hearing it.
Science is gay.
That's kind of where I'm
That's
at.
also true though. unless you're doing
Real
like
and
bro
true.
science, which is gym related. In
Okay,
which case
so-
it's very straight.
Listen, we got to kind of cut to the chase here. Great to see you, son. Thanks for being here in our $20 gajillion bunker.
Great to be here.
Today we're having a call-in from the great, esteemed Professor Richard Wolff. Yes. Oh, you calling the Wolff?
Yeah.
Yes, we're calling the Wolff.
Dick Wolff.
He
Famously,
is-
his side project is Law and Order series,
Great
which
work.
is really
Love
cool.
his work.
I hope
Yeah.
you guys have a bunch of Law and Order questions because we know we
It's
do.
actually all I put in the doc. I have so many questions about Stabler and Munch.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like, why do you do so much propaganda? Like, if you're a Marxist.
Okay,
all
hold
that
on,
sort of
guys.
stuff.
Richard Belzer, the
guys,
goat.
guys, I got to keep it on the rails because he's calling in at 10:45. That's 15 minutes, and we only have him for an hour.
Yeah.
So we got 15 minutes here to show some good shit. Okay.
I'd like to point out I'm very excited to hang with Dick. To hang Dick. He is. I mean, he's very important for a lot of the most annoying people online that were like, I'm gonna graduate from looking at socialism memes to like learn a little bit about it. So like his lectures are available on YouTube all over. But all jokes aside, I think he's great. He's a very good communicator of Marxist concepts. So
Well-
I am excited to talk to him.
Actually, I think it's a good idea to use this 15 minutes here to intro him a little bit so we don't have to waste time when he's on
Well,
the phone.
before we do that, how about you
Yeah.
had my boy on yesterday?
Oh, yeah,
Motherfucking
Bryce. Me and Bryce are dogs.
He's such a nice guy,
Yeah, he's a
right?
sweet guy. We had a good time.
I know him. Look, this year or this past year for me, Bryce and Mike as well, Big Mike.
Yeah, Mike's a good
Two
guy
people
too.
that I like would have never thought I would ever like talk to, never thought I would be friends with, never thought like.
Have a bunch of Law
Thought they
and
were
Order
douchebags, you know,
No,
from
we
afar.
didn't.
Actually, all
Judge
I
the
put
book
in the
by
doc,
its cover,
so
and I
many
was
questions
wrong.
about Stabler.
You know, Bryce is
and,
he's an
Munch.
interesting
Yeah, I'm gonna
guy.
be
There's a
like, Bradley
lot.
Martin too, actually.
Yeah, well, Bradley's a sweetheart. I had a feeling he would, he comes off as a sweetie pie. But Bryce, to me, he's a young man, but he's been through a lot. He grew up without a father. He was bullied in high school, like severely. He told me he used to eat his lunch in a stall by himself. Apparently, a few of these losers also did that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Not me. I have friends.
That's crazy. That's a thing that people, I mean, I went to high school in Turkey, so I don't know.
He said, no, it shocked me too. I never heard of it. He said he used to go into every day during lunch and eat in the stall by himself.
I wasn't exactly popping in high school.
So
Like I don't know how to
sad, dude.
describe my experiences in high school through the lens of an American high school, but I'll just say it like this. I drew so much. That's all I did. Every
drew?
class I would just sit there and draw.
Do you ever draw titties and jerk off to them?
Yes, I have done that.
I've never done that, but I've heard from friends who did that.
Okay, listen. First of all, porn is banned. Porn is banned in Turkey. What do you want me to do?
Did you ever draw one that was like really good, so you saved it for later, or did you start new?
No, because I was always really bad. I would draw. I used to be so good at drawing like fucking big burly dudes from video games and like animes and shit.
Right.
So whenever I tried to draw women, it like the perspective was off.
Okay.
Like they were more titty than person.
right. Well, that is kind of anime.
Yeah, and I kind of failed at it a little bit. But I guess I wasn't horny enough to like get better at it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Bryce, and then Bryce did this really incredible thing for me. Ryan Kavanaugh's bestie, Brad the Bull, the guy who rails his ex-wife.
Oh my God.
You know so much about this dude's
He
life.
called in, bro, and the minute he saw my face, he was like, "Fuck me, bro!" Like he was so upset. And Ryan Kavanaugh also called in during the show. He answered it. I heard his voice, and he's like, "Yo, I'm on the show. I'm live right now. I can't talk." He's like, "Okay, call me back." But that will all happen live.
So you're besties with him, and you're stealing him from Ryan.
That's what I think. Ryan's going to perceive it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I like Bryce.
Get
I
it?
think he's a nice kid.
Yeah, he's awesome. It was a good time. Yeah, and so as we're on the heels of the precipice of the Wolff call, here's the video that I saw on TikTok that made me wonder who was this guy.
This is one of
because I'm so fucking tired of seeing Jordan Peter's pseudo-intellectualism, and it's hard. Like he keeps going on like neo-Marxist
postmodernist.
Yeah, neo-Marxism postmodernist. Like, bitch, I know that the dummies that watch your shit don't have any idea what you're talking about, and I'm pretty sure you don't have any idea what you're talking about. So
Yes.
Richard Wolff, that's his specialty, is economics and specifically like Marxism, right?
Yes.
Are you talking about Richard Wolff?
Yes.
Sorry, I was literally opening up a new Google Doc, so I have before I forget, like I was trying to write down some of the questions that I have for him.
Okay.
That I have collected in my mind. Apologies for that. Richard Wolff is a famous Marxian economist. Obviously, there aren't that many of them out there, which is...
They've all been hunted.
Well, no, literally. I mean, McCarthyism is like a big part of why this is like a very contentious subject, even though it shouldn't be.
He's Luke Skywalker.
You know, we'll get into a little bit, but like you'll see a lot more Marxists or some kind of socialist in other departments. Usually sociology, maybe philosophy. Not necessarily so in philosophy, but rarely ever in the economy side of things, because the economics departments and the finance departments have...
Yeah, they're just teaching you like capitalism. They're teaching you neoliberalism, because that's the system that we operate under. It makes sense that that's what economists would study.
have a neoclassical economics stronghold, so they consider anything beyond that. Like the furthest, I guess, quote unquote, left you'll go in neoclassical economics is Keynesian economics.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond that, it's considered like unorthodox, not real, magic, alchemy. You know what I mean?
Well,
so that is, I think, the unique part of this.
He's highly tenured. I mean, he was a economics professor at Yale. He has a crazy pedigree. Anyway, here he is reacting to some of Jordan's absolute nonsense.
This is one of the things that's so great about the way the Americans set up their political system. Because
through the magic of the internet, it is possible for me to respond to some things that were said by a Canadian psychologist by the name of Jordan Peterson, who teaches at the University of Toronto.
I love that he had to preface this by like only through the magic of the internet. Yeah, it's called a duet, Professor.
Magic.
Talking about the psychology he teaches or that he preaches, because that's not my area of expertise, just as it's clear that Marxism is not his. However, he has made statements about Marxism, despite not knowing very much about it, as is evident from what he says. These have included daring Marxists to debate with him, just for the record, anytime, anywhere, as long as we can work out the details, no problem at this end.
By the way, an aside, 4 years ago, they were supposed to debate, Jordan and Professor Wolff.
Yeah.
And then Jordan bitched out and demanded $50,000 from a small university philosophy department to host the debate after it had already been arranged.
So that's
He's a
actually
giant
not
coward.
surprising
He
because
is a giant coward.
no, here's what they do.
Gina.
Right-wing commentators do this all the time, and in most circumstances, it's not like the Young Republicans Club that actually has that kind of money, but it's actually donors of the university, alumni that are right-wing and want Ben Shapiro to go to that college to, educate the youth, that will facilitate that. They
And they'll
will
actually
usually
pay him.
like that speaker's fee is actually on the lower end, from what I understand.
50?
Yes. Now, obviously, this was many, many years ago, so I don't know. He might have been suggesting that simply to duck out, like the coward that he is.
I guess I could see it both ways. But you're right in that, like, Ben Shapiro's not going to fucking go out of the kindness of his heart and talk to some kid.
No, these guys don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not a
That
that's not
is
a thing.
interesting. So we don't get those fat, juicy checks here on the left. Not that I would have anything to tell a university, but he certainly would.
Yeah, when I mean, every time I've ever been invited to a college campus or anything like that, I've always done it for free. Like, there's no, I've never, I guess with the exception of Politicon, which was debates, I've never gotten paid for a speaking engagement.
That's it. And that's what I expect, right? It's almost like a community service. You're going to talk to the kids.
Yeah, but for the right, it's actually, and not even just the right, like Hillary Clinton makes a lot of money doing this, like politicians
Well, that
do it.
makes sense in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's like,
So anyway,
Hillary Clinton doesn't have anything going on that's worth $750,000 for one speaker.
No.
Like, what the fuck?
But what's funny is that Jordan challenged him to a debate. He accepted, and then he bitched out and said, I need 50K. But anyway, here it is.
So what is it that's wrong with what Mr. Peterson has to say about Marxism? Well, it's partly that he's recycling old Cold War stuff. The Cold War was over in 1989. Most of us have moved on around the
Yeah.
world. Mr. Peterson seems to be stuck. And he's stuck with
Pulled
one of the
out.
oldest
Oh my god, shots fired. Boomer infighting. Let's fucking go.
kinds of arguments imaginable, telling us that we should not be interested in Marxism. In fact, it's kind of immoral, in his words, to be interested in Marxism in view of what Stalin did in Soviet Russia. Well, okay, Stalin did terrible things in Soviet Russia. However, Marxism exists in every country on the face of the earth. It's been going on for 150 years, and a lot more than what happened in Russia under Stalin over a period of 15 or 20 years has to be taken into account if you're going to make an assessment of Marxism. To use the one example that is really horrible over there as the judgment on Marxism would be about the same sense as saying Christianity should be dismissed because of the Catholic Inquisition or the destruction of the Native American population by Christians, or the Holocaust against Jews, gays, and so forth by Christians in Germany, and on and on and on. 2 world wars by capitalist Christian countries fighting each other might all qualify for the kinds of argument Mr. Peterson makes. We don't make those kinds of arguments because they make no sense, and Mr. Peterson oughtn't to do that with Marxism. The only other thing to say is he seems to reduce Marxism, when he actually talks about it, to the problem of inequality, that some people are rich and others are poor, and he deals with that by the very sophisticated notion that poor people's anger at rich is their envy of the success. This is an insult to those folks who are critical of inequality, but apparently Mr. Peterson doesn't worry about that. So let's respond. Inequality is indeed a social problem, but it has nothing particularly to do with Marxism. People have been talking about the problem of inequality for thousands of years before there ever was a Karl Marx or a Marxism. The whole point of Marxism was to explain why inequality under capitalism didn't go away. And let's remind everybody, capitalism comes into the world in the French and American revolutions, talking about being better than feudalism, because under capitalism, you see, we are free, we are equal, we are democratic, and all the rest of it. Capitalism was to bring, in the words of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Well, as you know, and I know, and even Mr. Peterson must know, we have capitalism, we sure do, but we don't have freedom, equality, and fraternity, not even close. Mr. Peterson's own speech is an indication of that. So the Marxists have always said, why is that? Why do we not have the equality that capitalism promised? And the answer is in the analysis of capitalism, the way in which capitalism organizes society with employers and employees, the kind of parallel to lords and serfs and masters and slaves, such that the employees produce the wealth that the capitalists get into their hands, thereby becoming wealthier, while the mass of the working people are excluded from the very surplus their creativity puts on this earth. In other words, there's an explanation. If Mr. Peterson understood that, his critique of capitalism might address that explanation.
Okay,
Instead,
pause it for a second.
It acts as though there is no explanation.
So
Wolf pack.
So you watched a fucking 5-minute TikTok video?
Well, yeah, dude. I watched this whole thing.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna change.
That's insane, dog.
And I was like, this guy fucking rules, dude.
Okay, TikTok
just shows how good he is.
And
5 minutes on TikTok is entirely too long. And I will be the first to say it.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I've been watching longer TikTok videos, and I like.
Actually, I have too, cause like, I use TikTok when I'm pooping.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
that's a good spot for it.
it's actually great when like there's like a 5-minute one, so you can just like let it run, and then not have to touch your phone.
Right. But I find myself like when it was a minute, I'm like, I want more of this. When it's like a dude cutting a cow's hoof or something, which is my favorite right now. And you want.
That's what you've been watching a lot?
Bro, have you seen those farriers?
I have watched them before, yeah.
They dig out like absence from the cow's hoof and shit. It's so fucking.
Didn't I have this conversation with you where I said I've done that to a horse, and I've never cut the hoofs, but like, you know, cleaning the hoof is like a pretty,
one of the things that's so
pretty basic part of like working on a ranch or just having.
Right.
You know,
Yes, you did say
riding.
that. Right. I guess we've had this conversation.
And then you said that that's not the same.
Bro, you're
that's
not a
the same.
farrier.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I've never actually shaved a hoof or anything like that.
Then what? So what's the point of even saying it?
Because I've cleaned out the hoof though. Like
you clean out the hoof. That's just a stick. You just take out mud from the horseshoe.
Not a stick.
These guys are like
you
surgeons.
still clean. Like I've. Yeah, you're right.
It just. Yeah,
I polish it. You know what I mean? Like I've done all that. I've done hoof maintenance.
Hoof maintenance.
And grooming.
Okay, hoof maintenance. So anyway, he's the man.
Don't take this away from me.
Well, listen,
You're just jealous because you've never touched a hoof.
That's
dog.
like me standing in front of,
No, it's cool, man. You've never touched a hoof. It's fine.
I mean, I respect what you do, but I'm not gonna stand in front of like the Mona Lisa and be like, I could do that.
Okay, what? That's not you.
Hey, these guys are masters.
It really goes to show how you feel about the
They're
hoof repair.
Bro. They are awesome.
They're they're doing the Mona Lisa every time.
Dude. Yeah, so I've prepared a bunch of clips I kind of want to get his take on. He's the man. I got a bunch from Jordan. I got some from Dennis Prager, my man. Should we ask about the incest one? Should we cue that up?
What's your argument?
I mean, I have a lot of questions for him.
Here's his son riding a horse as a young lad.
I have a lot of questions for it. That is literally. I thought you were gonna do a meme. No, that's actually me.
Bro, this is so.
Yeah, I won. I won that tournament. Yeah. Yeah, I got a ribbon.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I don't want to say it, but.
Glow up.
Gay.
Oh, yeah. I used to. The funniest part about that is I used to hate. I used to hate dressing like that because, like, especially when you're young, it's like the worst. But you have to wear a blazer. You have to wear a suit with a tie and everything. I used to hate dressing up like that, and now
How did you become gay?
Now I do it on my own volition. I wear tights when I'm working out every day, like compression pants.
So, did you own a horse?
Yeah.
Your family rich or some shit?
Yeah, my family used to be. Yeah, I've talked about this.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a generational curse.
Oh, okay.
There's a generational curse in both sides of my family.
They lost it all.
Yes.
Okay.
They always.
I remember.
They always make a lot of money. Like they have historically always made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then literally went bankrupt by the time their next of kin reaches college age, which is literally what happened to me.
May I ask you?
And what?
Are you afraid that you're gonna fall to the same curse?
Maybe. I mean, I am not. I'm not like them. They're both my grandfather and my dad were like, well, my dad made a lot of like risky, like he just was doing like futures trading and shit, which is so stupid. And my grandfather was just like more so kind of a baller in the sense that he had like one big court case, I think, where he got like a lot of real estate. This is my grandfather, who's been dead for many, many years. And then he just basically sold all of those properties and then lived off the money for the rest of his life.
You hear that music?
What is that?
That's the curse music.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The third is coming. How would you lose all your money, I wonder?
Both.
How would Hassan go broke?
I don't know. I fucking get like Omega canceled or something.
Canceled? Yeah,
so much so that like I can no longer continue to make content. But even then, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the question is, will you be able to afford your children a horse? That's kind of the status that we're going for.
I will
Horse
not
money?
do that. I will not do that for my children anyway. Because like honestly, I low-key kind of hated it when I was
Okay,
growing
so
up.
there
It
you
was
go.
more
Fuck
like
it.
I wanted to play basketball, but my parent like this was something that they wanted me to do.
Wow,
So-
you could have been a whole different world, you playing basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I ended up playing basketball as well because my horse died.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do you do with the horse when it dies?
I don't know. I probably glue factory, right?
Or
Isn't
do
that
you
what they
make
do?
it? Do you eat it?
No.
Jerky?
No. No.
It's just such a big animal, you know. You gotta. What do you do with
There's
it?
a lot of meat. I don't know. I think
don't wanna
they
waste
bury
it.
her. I guess I don't know. I actually don't know.
Okay, so we're run out of time. We've I wanted to
I'm
talk.
so glad that
I wanted to talk at least about Rudy Giuliani pulling up a Is he in the chat, Dan?
Yeah.
So then let's
standing by.
do it. We'll do it afterwards.
Yeah, we'll have time after.
Yeah, we'll have time afterwards. So.
All right, let me get it set up 1 second.
Let's not waste our.
Wait, AB has some facts on this.
All horses, when they die, must be disposed of immediately with very few exceptions, and they must be delivered to a premise approved for proper collection and disposal. What happens if they're not? It says they must be disposed immediately, like they're going to raise again.
Your dynasty gets cursed, going broke.
Oh, shit.
Generation after generation. How do you think it happened to Hassan?
Yep. Yeah, but for real, why is it like so? They're like, yo, you better kill. You got to get rid of that fast.
Honestly, the more I think about the generational curse thing, the more I'm like, they all lived awesome lives. Like my grandparents and my dad, who's still alive, they're fine. So I don't even mind it if that were to happen to me.
Professor, hello. Can you see and hear
Hello.
us?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
You know, I have to say I'm a new fan of yours. I found your content on TikTok. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm glad you got in there before the people who want to shut it down to take it away.
Okay, that's interesting. What do you think about the TikTok shutdown? That's kind of a good.
That's
question for
a good
you.
way to start. But
Yeah.
Professor Wolff, watch out. He's a liberal. The man you're speaking to, he's saying he likes your videos, but
Dirty lib.
he's a big business owner and a liberal. I'm just letting you know.
Okay, well, I'm suitably forewarned. I shall be terribly, terribly careful.
Okay, yes. I'll have you know I'm stealing your labor right now.
He's
All right.
He's an open-minded
Very
one
good.
though. He is an open-minded liberal.
Yeah. So what do you actually? I find the whole pursuit to shut down TikTok a little bit, or it's all kind of bad faith, in my opinion. It all seems like a bunch of BS. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I understand why it's being done. I understand that many of the things that are happening in the economy, which is what I study, have to do with a rather desperate effort of the United States to reverse history. That doesn't usually work out real well, and I don't expect it's going to work out real well this time either. But it's a way for politicians to pander, and they don't usually miss a chance to doing that if it gives them some advantage.
Right.
Professor Wolff, what would you say to people that are possibly speculating that this is an effort by big tech to basically use xenophobia to effectively shut out a market.
That was such a cute little nerd moment from Hassan. Hey, Professor, what would you say? Hey, Professor Wolff, what would you say?
Competitor that has been really dominant, a market competitor that is not obviously owned by Silicon Valley, that doesn't offer the same backdoors, even though it offers similar backdoors, I would suspect, but not the same ones that Silicon Valley tech giants would offer. People claim that this is done to erode competition.
Look, my experience over many, many years is that actions like this never have one or two causes. They are decisions that are made that meet a bunch of criteria, or if you like, respond to a variety of causes, any one of which wouldn't have been enough to make it happen, but it's the whole collection of them that make it happen. So yeah, one of the factors going into the TikTok decision was the convenient way you can have the government favor one competitor over others. It is often arranged by those other competitors to get rid of the one that they don't like or that they can all agree on getting rid of. And so that becomes part of the story. You could see that already, or this helps you figure it out, by going after the Huawei Corporation, which produced last year and the year before things that compete with American companies. So this was a convenient way, before the general onslaught against China really got going, to strike a blow, to get some support for sitting politicians from those who benefit by getting rid of Huawei, and same thing with TikTok.
It seems to me that all this kind of boogeyman threat about China harvesting our data seems kind of silly. I don't know. I'm not a technologist, but it just doesn't. I don't see how that is any bigger of a threat than anyone else who's harvesting our data. I mean, if China wanted data, they just buy it from Facebook.
Exactly. They would, like, it's probably cheaper for them to go through data brokers than to like operate servers.
It's all there already. So I don't know. It seems a little bit, or a lot of it, bad faith.
Are you familiar with the Resist bill? That's the Resist Act that's coming out in the aftermath of this debacle in Congress?
No, tell me about it.
So there is now Restrict. I messed it up. The Restrict Act that is being promoted. There's a lot of speculation on what it could potentially do. There's vagueness surrounding it, but it's proposed legislation that was first introduced in the United States Senate on March 7th to authorize, get this, the Secretary of Commerce to review and prohibit certain transactions between persons in the United States and foreign adversaries. And the foreign adversaries list is, of course, the same villains, quote unquote, ranging from Iran to Venezuela to China and Russia, of course. And people are fearful that you can be fined up to $1 million and also with 20 years prison sentence for if they consider you to be doing something illegal, like utilizing, again, this is vague. They claim that it's not going to hit VPNs, but using VPNs, for example, or even using TikTok. This came after. This was directed towards TikTok.
If they ban TikTok, you can go to jail for using TikTok? That's
technically.
The bill? Okay. You better start building prisons, boy.
Well, yeah. Well, that is a big.
Well, but the interesting. I'm glad you brought it up. The interesting thing about this is, from an economics point of view, it's kind of remarkable. I've lived all my life in the United States. I was born in Ohio and been working here all my life. And I grew up at a time when we were told in the economics courses I took in the universities where I've taught economics all my life, that an economy works best if it's private. And if the government doesn't enter in do this, do that, regulate this, choose one company over another. We were told literally that this is a bad thing to be avoided at all costs. So I think one important thing is to recognize that all of that stuff has been thrown out the window in the last 5 or 10 years, just as if it were never spoken, as if it were never taught, even though it was the dominant ideological statement of what Western capitalism was all about. And you're now seeing, it used to be a phrase, the government should not choose winners and losers in the market. That was the kind of phrase that we were told. Well, what you're seeing at every turn is exactly the opposite. The government is choosing winners and losers, helping these industries, not those industries, saving this one, not the other one, forbidding this, allowing that. It's never stopping, and it's not a sign of confidence in your system. It's a sign of fear and retreat and danger and isolation. And now let me put on my economics hat. You know, it's not that list that you mentioned a minute ago, Iran, Russia, China. You better get out your pencil, because that list is becoming longer and longer and longer with each passing day. It used to be Russia, China, and we would, have the usual socialist bad guys or communist bad guys. But now we have all kinds of societies.
Yeah. America's enemies is as long as the day. Wait, what's the phrase? I don't know. It's we've made enemies of everyone. I don't know what the end game is there. I think just control and coercion. I don't really know. I fucking hate it though.
The important thing to remember is something called the BRICS, B-R-I-C-S. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. We are isolating ourselves from them by pretending we are isolating them. But that's not the way it's working. The rest of the world is gathering around them, not us. And the make-believe that that's not the case is a dangerous form of self-delusion in the United States. Look, the war in Ukraine, whatever else you think of it, was supposed to be over in a short time once the sanctions got going. They were called the mother of all sanctions. They would bring Russia to its knees. Go back and look at the press in February.
Yeah, that didn't really happen, did it? I mean, granted, Russia could be doing a lot better than they're doing right now, but they're still fighting.
February, March, and April of last year. That's what they were predicting. None of that has happened. None of it. And why? Because it turned out that Russia, which is a weak economic system, and was before this war started, but Russia has really big and powerful friends, more of them each day. And they turned to those friends and they made a bad joke out of the mother of all sanctions, which hasn't stopped the war one iota. And adding more tanks and sending more shells isn't gonna change that. These are more and more looking like the acts of people who took a really bad turn, cannot admit it, cannot face it, and keep doubling down in a way that makes the rest of the world shake their head, and more of us inside the United States scratching our head and wondering, what are you doing? What are you doing? And that's really where people like me, that's where we find ourselves.
What kind of policy is it that you would like to see in terms of like how American America responded to the war in Ukraine instead of sanctions?
Sure. I think the best way is actually to remind everybody about American history, right? At a certain point, back in the 18th century, the people here in the United States decided that they were sick and tired of being a colony of Great Britain. So we broke away from the British Empire. We did that by means of a violent revolution. We fought a war with England, 1776. We've all learned about it in school umpteen times. We know. And an amazing thing happened. The British Empire, which at that time ruled the world. The slogan in England at that time was, "The sun never sets on the British Empire," because we've got the whole world covered, from India to Africa to you know the story, okay? To the amazement of everybody, the British were defeated by the Americans in that Revolutionary War. But they didn't give up. In 1812, we had another war where the British Empire decided again to try to squash the new emerging economic power of the United States. 2 wars, they were defeated both times. Finally, the British got the memo. This not gonna work. You are not gonna undo the history that you yourself helped to make. So what you ought to do is sit down and work out with the United States, this new get over your upset that your empire isn't growing anymore. Get over it. Recognize that your empire is now on the downturn and that a new power is arising, namely the United States. And they worked out a peace agreement that lasted a century. Okay, you want my answer? That's what we ought to be doing with Russia and China. Not go to one little war or not so little, one proxy war. Next we'll have a war that isn't a proxy war. You know, we're on the edge of it anyway, almost every day. We'll do something in the South China Sea. We'll provoke one way or another, or we will be provoked. This is a dead end. It's not in our interest. It's not in their interest. We need to live with this new emerging economic power. We don't need to keep trying to squash it. It doesn't work. Every other empire, Greek, Roman, British, Persian, Ottoman, you go through them. They all had a ride up, then they plateaued, and then they went down. The last 100 years has been the American empire, especially after World War II. It was a great ride up for the U.S. It's going to be a bumpy, difficult ride down. And the sooner we face it, the better our judgments will be and the better our policies will be, because where we are going, whether it's Ukraine or banning TikTok or hounding Huawei, these are things that are going to hurt the U.S. I keep trying to explain to people, when Saudi Arabia shifts its oil resources from the West to China and Russia, this is a screaming signal, even the people you thought were most dependent on you aren't anymore. And unless you're blind or blinded by some ideological reflex you ought to outgrow, you're going to be making one mistake after another, and people like you and me are going to be talking about them, even though we would wish we didn't have to.
And I
So
feel
your
like
answer is collaborative multipolarity, like leaning into that with all of the other hegemonic powers, or at least like superpowers that are growing at a rapid pace.
the propaganda, though, that I think a lot of people consume in America is that these countries are not willing to work with us. It's them that's putting up the roadblocks.
But they are working with us. We're working with them all day, every day. I mean, we have no commerce without China.
Listen, let me give you a couple of just simple statistics. Throughout the entire anti-Chinese or China bashing or whatever you want to call it of the last 8 or 9 years, beginning at the end of Obama, right through the tariff and trade wars of Trump, and now the continuation under the neocons working with Biden. Throughout that time, the trade between the United States and China goes up every single year. There's a peculiar disconnect between, if you pardon me, the roaring bullshit from the politicians and the underlying reality that we need them. We need them to produce consumer goods. If the American people had not been able to buy cheap Chinese consumer goods over the last 30 years, they would have demanded and they would have gotten higher wages to pay what would have been the price if those things had been produced anywhere else. Capitalists in America are grateful, if they're honest, for the cheap Chinese goods that have made it possible for profits to go up without rising wages, because you could go to your neighborhood TJ Maxx store and buy inexpensive Chinese clothing, or to the other stores. You know, there is no Amazon, there is no Walmart without Chinese goods. If you plot the growth of Walmart and the growth of China, you discover something. It's the same business. The China can outproduce us on everything, but they could never have gotten into the American market unless Walmart, Target, and all the others acted eagerly to be the distributor of those Chinese goods and to make a fortune for themselves along the way. Those are the realities. The rest is make-believe. Nobody wants this war in Ukraine. Above all, the people of Ukraine who are suffering beyond all words the destruction of their society. Who's benefiting out of this? I mean,
American weapons manufacturers.
Excuse me?
American weapons manufacturers are.
Yep.
It seems like those with the least to lose and the most to gain out of this are the ones that are pushing for it and pushing for the continuation of it, whether it be Boris Johnson back when he was the prime minister going into Ukraine during the first round of peace negotiations or a possible ceasefire and peace negotiation talks that were happening, organized by Turkey, or whether it be, Ned Price and numerous other American State Department officials continuously talking about how they are not interested in peace at all. Obviously, there's an argument here about what Ukrainians want, and some will say that, the overwhelming majority of Ukrainians want to keep fighting this fight, but ultimately, we are not giving Ukrainians everything they want. It's not like we're, implementing Article 5. We're not even giving Ukrainians F-16s. We're not training them on that. We might down the line, I think, but so far, these are demands that they've made that we haven't conceded to. So, I think that pushing for peace negotiations on that front, with China and Russia at the other side of the table, with Ukraine and the United States of America on one side of the table, would be the quickest and most swift way to try to stop this conflict and further bloodshed from continuing.
Well, I mean, let me just expand one dimension of that point. We now have a defense budget, depending a little bit on how you look at it, in the neighborhood of $850 billion to $1 trillion. If you take a look, it's more money than the next 8 or 9 countries in the world combined spend on their military. We have just authorized an additional $100+ billion just for the war in Ukraine. Even if you believe that one motivation for the Ukraine war is the money being made by the defense industry. We already are doing more than anyone in their right mind could ask to provide them with a profitable business. Over $1 trillion. I don't even think they're that greedy. They're getting a bundle, a big bundle with no opposition. Nobody opposes the defense budget. I mean, a handful of people, but it's basically trivial. The two parties that run our politics are both eager to outdo one another in supporting the defense budget. They're in very good shape. They don't need another $100 billion war on top of the gift that this one represents. So for me, I don't think it's even them. I wouldn't mind criticizing them if I thought it, but I don't see, they've made a ton of money by all the stuff we've shipped to Ukraine, and all of that will have to be replaced. They will get the money and the profit out of that. The budget is huge, and it got a tremendous boost. Look, I'm an economist, and two things have happened in the last year that strike me as downright funny. We are in a supposed war against the inflation in our country. And to that end, we have a Federal Reserve, our central bank, that has raised interest rates. And that's supposed to slow down the spending by individuals and businesses because it's too expensive to borrow money at high interest rates, et cetera, et cetera. What's the worst thing you can do to an inflation? Pour money onto it. It's like squeezing kerosene on a campfire. It flares up as a stupid thing to do. What have we just done? We have just spent an extra $100 billion on a war in Ukraine. Most of that money goes right back into the American economy because it pays for the military one way or another. And Mr. Zelensky is not stupid. He understands you better spend that money back in the United States and not in some other country, because that will be the fastest way to cut that game over, number one. The second thing we did when our banks started to collapse a couple of weeks ago was to say that the Federal Reserve is going to come in and give any bank in trouble losing deposits, they can go to the Federal Reserve and borrow brand new money to replace the deposits. Well, let me explain to you. If the deposits go from a troubled bank to an untroubled bank, that's still money circulating in our economy. If the Federal Reserve backstops banks by pumping more money in, then you've got a bank crisis leading to more money and a war leading to more money. You're not slowing down the inflation that way, you're making it worse. What's my point? It's obvious. No one discusses it in this country. No one is saying, wait a minute, we got to think about the inflationary. If we propose to help the food stamp recipients for another 6 months, the issue of inflation would be raised.
Yeah, that's a moral hazard. It's only a moral hazard as it pertains to the working poor when you're helping the working poor. It's never a moral hazard when you're helping bankers get golden parachutes in the aftermath of the 2008 financial collapse. So what you're basically, just to make it a little bit easier to understand for our audience here, am I correct in stating that we have two methods of dealing with the inflation? We have monetary policy and fiscal policy. Fiscal policy conducted by the legislative branch, which is usually just completely powerless, with the exception of the bipartisanship that they always find when it comes down to more money for the military. And then the monetary policy is also one that you can use, and it's pretty much the only one that you can use, unfortunately, because there is no such deflationary fiscal policy that the Republicans or the Democrats will ever allow. So they're utilizing that, the control over the inflation by controlling the interest rates with the express purpose of depressing wages, kicking people out of jobs, with the hopes that inevitably people will be, this tight labor market will turn back around and you will have a labor force that's willing and able to take less pay for the same work.
Yeah, and again, I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, but
Yeah, and it's always less pay for always less work, so that line can always go up. Capitalism is synonymous with infinite growth, and it has to, something's got to give, and it always gives from the working class. Rip.
again, I'm astonished. I'm an economics professor. I'm astonished that the only way we are discussing as a nation dealing with the inflation is by raising interest rates, which will throw millions of people out of work. And everybody knows that, which will probably hurt the poorest amongst us most, the last hired, the first fired, all of that again, worsening the disparities of our racial community, of our ethnic community, of the genders, and on and on. Really, we're going to go through that? I'm a professor. I learned that there are other methods of dealing with inflation.
Can we talk about that? Can we talk about that?
Do not involve raising interest rates. I'm mystified why I live in a country where the people in charge know what I just said, and they refuse to discuss it. We have a country in which raising interest rates is considered like the thing, the only thing, and all that's left for us to discuss is how many percentage points it'll go up or down, how soon. Let me drive it home in a personal way. But people seem to like this, so I'll tell you this story. I got my PhD in economics at Yale University. At the time I got it, it was almost all men who were students. Women didn't go into economics then. They do much more now, but they didn't then. So there were 2 or 3 women in my class, and we all got to know them because there were only 2 or 3 women in my class. And one of them, who took the same courses I did, in the same classroom I did, from the same professor I did, was a woman you've gotten to know. Her name is Janet Yellen. So I know what she knows. She knows what I know. We were schoolmates. We went to the same graduate program. In that program, we learned that one of the most interesting ways to stop an inflation that has been used in many countries at many times, often with great success, and that was used August 15th, 1971, by the sitting president, Richard M. Nixon. He got on television and he said to the American people, we've got a terrible inflation. Here's how we're going to deal with it. As of right now, as he was speaking on radio and TV, any business that raises its price, we're going to come for you, we're going to arrest you, and you're going to jail. Any union or other worker organization that pushes or tries to push the wage up, we will do the same to you. This policy is called in this country a wage price freeze. In other countries, it's called an incomes policy because it freezes the income of the employer and the income of the employee at the same time.
That's awful. What the fuck? It's so devious.
Wherever it happens to stand. That was originally put into effect for 90 days. It was extended. It brought the inflation down. It is an alternative. It has its strengths and weaknesses, just like raising interest rates, but they're different. And an honest society trying to deal honestly with its problems would have a debate publicly about these alternatives. And by the way, there are others I could give you if you were interested. It's not the only 2. There's more than 2. But we live in a society that has a quick dismissal. If they even admit what I just explained to you, which is in every history book and can be verified in 10 minutes of Googling anything, there's no excuse for what's going on. Just like breezily dismissing the Ukraine war by saying the Russians and the Chinese don't offer to sit down and have a ceasefire. Both of those countries have done it. Maybe they're lying. Maybe they'd cop out once you started the process. But we're not in a very good position to call them bluffers if we haven't called the bluff. And if we're willing to sit down without conditions, why don't we say so? And I don't think you can use the argument about what the Ukrainians want, because here I'm not interested in criticizing Mr. Zelensky, but you should know, if you don't, that he has shut down opposition newspapers, opposition media, opposition politicians. He's fighting a war. Maybe you have to do that in war, but there is no way to know what the mass of the Ukrainian people feel unless you want to take the fact that somewhere between 6 and 7 million of them have left the country, and it's not that big a country, and that would not be a sign that you would want to make a big argument about, that this shows that they're in favor of fighting to the last Ukrainian, since they've made a choice not to be among those last Ukrainians that we're fighting for. So it does strike me as there's an awful lot of accumulated evidence that we're not dealing honestly and straightly with these major problems of our society. And that's usually the sign of a society that is scared shitless, if you pardon my Spanish, and therefore is functioning with a level of anxiety that is scary to watch.
Getting back to fiscal policy and monetary policy, you talked about some things that have demonstrably worked, like the Nixon price freeze. Right. For contemporary America, for contemporary American society, do you have any suggestions on fiscal policy that would be deflationary? And can we even implement these policies?
Absolutely. The first policy that would be deflationary, and it is long overdue, is raising taxes on corporations and the rich. If you want it very concrete, reverse the tax cuts that were passed in December of 2017.
Tax those motherfuckers. Tax them to hell.
The biggest single economic act of recent history was that tax cut. That is what produced the $1 trillion deficits we've had ever since. We had deficits before. It's not that we didn't, but we took a quantum leap. And let me drive home. The 2017 tax cuts, benefiting mostly corporations and the rich, came at the end of a 30-year period, maybe even 40 years, of a dramatic boom in profits, of a dramatic increase in the inequality of wealth. Those were two arguments that said this was the last thing you needed to do. Corporations were rolling in money. That's why we had the greatest peacetime stock market boom in the 80s, 90s, and into the first decade of this century. They didn't need it. They shouldn't have got it. The people who deserved it were the ones who had come out on the short end of the stick over the 80s, 90s, and the first decade of this century. If you wanted to help someone, help them. But if you didn't want to help them, okay. But shoveling vast amounts of money into the hands of those who needed them least was an incredibly, if you pardon me, stupid. It was so greedy, it lopped over beyond greed into downright stupid. And then to scratch your head and say, gee, we have terrible deficits. Well, what the hell did you think you'd get with a tax cut? It's like today saying, you know, we have a shortage of labor. Hello, you just kicked out millions of immigrants. They were doing that work. What, are you surprised by the results of what you did? Were you born yesterday?
What did you think was going to happen?
I wanted to ask about the. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I got some more questions, or at least your opinion on one of my suggestions. I think stock buybacks used to be considered market manipulation, and that consideration was correct in my opinion. It is market manipulation, and they used to be illegal until 1982. I think that one other immediate not a full-blown solution, but one other immediate form of legislation could come by making stock buybacks illegal again, especially at a time when, corporations are very clearly only beholden to their shareholders. Even the World Economic Forum and other capitalists are talking about how they need to find a new capitalism a stakeholder focused solution to the economic problems. I think that's one other thing that we could absolutely be considering as well.
Yes, I agree with you, but I hate to throw water on your little campfire here. So I'm going to agree with you that stock buyback, they certainly are a market manipulation. That's why they're done. Their goal is to boost the price of the stock in the market. The company, by going in and being a major buyer, has the effect of driving up the price of the stock. If you remember that members of the board of directors of many companies, high executives in many companies, are paid with stock options and other kinds of stock remuneration, then you can see they have a personal interest and a personal gain by using the company's money to drive up the price of the shares they have. But here's the water I'm going to throw a little bit. Corporations understand what we're saying. The general public maybe not, but the people who run the larger corporations hire economists and accountants like me who explain this to them. And, maybe not the first or third or ninth time, but by the 15th time we go over it, they kind of get it. And they can keep it in mind because it's their wallet. But they have developed over the years a whole host of strategies. And if you deny them this one, and I'm in favor of it, I agree with you, I would support it. But I've been around now, and I will tell you, they have dozens of other strategies that will accomplish more or less the same thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll give you one example just so you get the flavor. Company A, a big multi-billion-dollar company, and Company B, another one. And they get together over golf or at the fanciest restaurant they can find, and they come to an agreement. Company A uses its profits to buy shares in Company B. That's not a stock buyback. And Company B uses its profits, you get the picture, to buy the stock of Company A. I've watched it, it's there, it's a strategy. And I could go on, and as long as we allow a tiny group of people, a board of directors, 15, 20 human beings sitting at the top of these mega corporations, as long as you give them the authority of disposing of the billions of dollars in profits, in revenues that they have at their disposal, you can't be surprised if they use it to enrich themselves. That's how the game of capitalism is organized. The rest of us are supposed to be spectators and go ooh and ah when they use the money to aggrandize, themselves or their companies. They really do have lovely shrubbery around their headquarters.
I want to say there's at a certain point, and kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, when, during a 40-year period of, huge profits, they give themselves another massive tax cut. It, like you said, it's stupid, but it's even worse than that. It's almost like self-defeating greed to the point where it's destabilizing society. Is going to end up eventually with their head on a pike. You know what I mean? Or their head in a goddamn.
Ethan is recognizing the contradictions, Professor Wolff. That's what's going on.
Or their head in a guillotine. So, how is it that they're not aware? They must be aware of where they're going. And at a certain point, I just don't understand why they don't acknowledge that I can be ultra rich, and also it's as important that we live in a stable society where people are going to come eat me.
Okay. Let me answer it by telling you a story. Since I am a graduate of the fancy schools in this country and have all the connections that those schools create for you when you go through them, the education you get, by the way, is quite mediocre, but the connections, they are
True.
super.
Yeah,
They're just
okay.
super.
It's all about the social capital. Yeah. It's not about like actually learning anything.
All right. I have therefore been at the following conversation. A group of people sitting on the boards of directors of the biggest corporations in America. Some of them talk like you just did. They say things like, well, I'll quote you, Warren Buffett will say to the public, I pay a lower rate of taxes on my billions than my secretary does on what we pay her. Remember, he said that, he got a lot of play. So he gets it. He gets it that it's stupid what they're doing, it's self-destructive what they're doing, and he appeals to the other directors like him to see what he's saying. And he's not the only one. But the problem is, there's another group of directors who come right back at him and say the following: the mass of people in this country are too divided, too disorganized.
Okay, I love Richard Wolff to death, but this is taking way too long. I'm gonna speed it up. I'm sorry.
And too ignorant to figure any of this out.
They say that? They're that?
They say that.
They're
They say
actually
that,
malignant.
yes.
It's just evil.
Well, you know, it's very, look, if you keep sticking it, I'm going to defend them now, but I'm only answering your question. I don't mean to defend them, but I am going to defend them. Because here's the way it goes. Once you get over your anger that they talk like, think like that, which I get, you're going to ask yourself, because you're a smart guy, why? I mean, you know, people aren't born that way. Why would they think and talk like that? And here's the answer. They were Warren Buffett's in the past. They warned in their company, look, let's not go so far. Let's give the workers a decent pay. Let's, you know, pay our taxes. Let's spend some money to make the city nicer for people or whatever. And they got shot down by the, let's call them, for lack of a better term, the conservative type, pro-business types. They got shot down, and the pro-business guys stuck it to the workers some more and evaded the taxes some more and didn't give a nickel to the community. And guess what? The profits of the company went up because there was no reaction. The local politicians didn't do anything. The people didn't get the pitchforks. They didn't march down Main Street with them. None of it. And so over time, they began to feel as though their, let's call it humane impulse, or whatever you want to call it, to be nice guys as employers was a mistake. Made them look like they were weak or in some way not as gung-ho to make a profit for the company as their fellow directors. They didn't want to take that kind of risk.
Right.
They didn't want that kind of reputation. They kind of swallowed their bad feeling. They stopped telling their wife about how they felt, because the wife would notice that if you felt that way in the past, you're not feeling that way now. I don't hear you say anything about doing good for the community. You've got me sitting on the board of the local Y or the orchestra or the local charity, but you're not coming to the meetings and you're not even asking me anymore. So what you've got is a
Oh no, I went offline. I didn't even notice. What the? God damn it.
a capitalist employer class whose majority thinks they can safely ignore the mass repercussions. Nothing will happen. The Republicans and the Democrats will distract people away from what we're doing to them economically. They'll get more interested in, I don't know, immigrants or in carrying a gun or whether transgender people can use a toilet. We don't have to worry about it.
That
That's
makes sense.
the answer they give.
Sadly, that does make sense.
So what is the most effective mechanism of pushback, in your opinion?
It's exactly what we were just talking about. Let me give you an example. As I'm speaking to you, in three countries of Europe is the answer. France, Germany, and Greece. In all of those countries, masses of people are letting the power structure there, both the political power structure and the business leadership, know that there are limits. In France, they are telling the president, Mr. Macron, you are not going to solve the fiscal troubles of France by depriving the people of 2 years of their pension. You're not going to do that. We're not going to let you. In Germany, all the railroad stations and all the airports are closed because the workers are on strike. And the issue there is the inflation. You are not going to jack up the price of oil and gas for all of us and then not change our wages. I mean, we're not going to tolerate it. And Greece, you might find, is even the most interesting. 4 weeks ago, they had a terrible train wreck, worse than the one we had in East Palestine, Ohio, but around the same time. It killed 60 young people, among other things. And they went into the streets to denounce the privatization of the rail system in their country. The government came down on them, and so now they're all against the government. This is making everybody stop and pay real close attention. The polls in France, my father was French. I speak French. I have since I've been a kid. The polls in France are about 60 to 65% supporting the people in the streets. So there is no escape from the president for him. He's in a deep container of doo-doo and with very little mechanism to get out of it.
Well, what you're describing also, I have to mention this, but what you're describing is three nations that even with Greece that have a higher rate of participation in unions in the labor force, with a stronger history of labor uprisings, and also like even when you consider France, for example, even if they do not have actual card-carrying union members, they have collective bargaining agreements that encompass damn near the entirety of the economy. In France, it's I believe 98% collective bargaining agreements.
Yes, and they're industry-wide. I mean, the unions get together, the employers get together, they bargain across the table, and it covers the entire industry across the country. That's
Whereas one fact that I like to always point to in the United States of America is the union participation rate in this country is actually even lower than a country that we destroyed, we eviscerated, like Chile. Chile has a 15% union participation rate. The United States, on the other hand, has an 11% union participation rate, which is unimaginable to think about. It's unimaginable to consider, considering what we've done in Chile. So I think that factors into this a lot. You talk about democracy at work. You talk about how workplaces should implement a democratic process, even though it's authoritarian currently, and people expect that, and people think that that's normal. I think that that is the main mechanism of pushback. Is building out.
I want to ask, maybe this is why.
America has systematically crippled the labor movement in America and abroad. I think there's a lot of pushback against that now.
I'm wondering, why are Americans so docile?
Yes. In many ways, that's what we've been talking about, even if it hasn't been explicitly in so many words. And the whole world wonders about it. I wonder about it, but I can assure you, I go to Europe fairly often. I give talks, papers at university conferences and crap like that. And that's the question I'm asked. What is it? The French have the yellow vests a few years ago. You guys may remember before the pandemic hit, this amazing outpouring of opposition among the French people to the rising cost of gas and electric bills. And so yeah, I mean, what is it about the American people? They grumble. You know what they say at the bar at night. You've been there. You know what they say over the dinner table. You know they have feelings about this. They're angry about what the price of eggs going up 2 to 3 times over the last 6-8 months. Everybody knows. You can't. I mean, inflation is a phenomenon that pokes you in the nose, every day. So people know, but they have this sense somehow in America that it is either impossible or unwise to get together with other people, enjoy the benefit of having numbers, and beginning to actually act democratically, to say that we the people have a right to be heard, to have a right to shape the policies that we live under. They say it, but they don't really believe it. And somehow in there, I think, lies the explanation for this docility, for this hesitance to get out there and do stuff. It's very discouraging. And I want to go back to the story I told you about the board of directors I meet with. When you have docility like that, you are encouraging the corporate board of directors to think that they can get away with virtually anything. Amazon is in the process, in case you didn't hear it, of doing away with the free delivery. They got what they wanted.
There's
got
gonna
what
be blood
they
in the
wanted.
streets from that one.
Yeah.
No way.
Because they see profit. They're going to start changing. They've issued.
You're fucking kidding me. That's the only reason you get Prime. Right? I'm pretty sure that's the only reason people get Prime. I guess they might make more from delivery fees than Prime. Well,
Some indications. Only if you buy so much will you get. If you don't buy that much, you don't get it for free. And you might get it sooner, then the other guy's going to get it later. They're beginning to play the game because they don't think they have any opposition they have to fear.
Part of me, I wonder, I imagine if you were to get
the majority of people interacting and caring together about one cause. In my mind, imagining Americans doing that is almost hard to believe because the different tribes, the two different tribes here in America, are so opposed, and the propaganda on either side is so compelling. It's like if you have a bunch of, let's say, liberals in the street protesting inflation and price gouging and all this, it would be so easy for Fox News and their saddle and all their cronies to vilify them in whatever way they wanted, right? To prevent the other half from participating. And I feel like there's no critical mass eventually where it's like, because you need both people to come together on a cause to get anything done. I feel like in a meaningful way to have enough people. I wonder if that's why.
There are plenty of issues. There are plenty of issues where the American public actually unite on across the board. Abortion being one of the greatest examples of this, like the protection of abortion rights being one of the best examples of this. And yet, obviously, the Democratic Party doesn't do enough to protect that, and the Republican Party very openly works to undermine it, and not even through the legislative body, but through state legislatures and the court process and the court system.
If a conservative who, let's say, even supports that privately, I think they would be afraid of being perceived as a traitor if they went out into the streets or something like that to support the cause.
I think that they have weaponized wedge issues very effectively in the United States of America as a mechanism to divide the working class. The working class has no class consciousness in this country. Historically, they haven't had class consciousness in the country. Even like in the Eugene Debs era, there were still plenty of people, like the Steinbeck quote that comes to mind immediately is about how socialism will never work in the United States of America because the workers do not see themselves as an exploited proletariat, but temporarily embarrassed millionaires. I mean, that's paraphrased and maybe falsely attributed to Steinbeck, but it doesn't matter. My point is that attitude still exists. American exceptionalism is built into people's minds. Americans still believe a false meritocracy that doesn't exist. These are all ideas that the bourgeois state and its institutions have basically reinforced through even neoliberal institutions like where Professor Wolff graduated from, Yale, all the way down to our regular education and what people are taught in schools from pre-K through 12. So that's it. It's very successful. This is what happens when you have a country that has no class consciousness and capitalists have won, and it makes sense. We are the labor aristocracy. We are living in the imperial core. We do benefit from the global exploitation of the third world. The exploitation of the global south, and we kind of recognize that. We recognize that the cheap goods and commodities that we consume are sedating the masses, and people are relatively comfortable. That's why no one fucking rises up when you see a 700% increase in profits for an egg company, the California egg company that just reported like insane, record-shattering profits, and they did that because egg prices were increased. There's too much corporate consolidation. They have all the power, and just like Professor Wolff pointed out, Amazon is doing that single-handedly, monopolizing e-commerce, and then slowly but surely increasing prices and doing whatever the fuck they can, and there's no way to fight back against it.
So I don't know if you have an opinion about that, or it's probably a whole lot of stuff, but it is concerning. I mean,
I have to get off. I have other things.
Right.
I did want to end my part of this on a more positive note, because I agree with everything you've said. I really do. But I want to again point out these things can change. In France, it was believed that their working class was divided beyond all repair, basically divided as follows: a vast group of people in the middle, then an extreme right wing associated with the Le Pen family that you may have heard about, father and now the daughter as a leader of a far right wing anti-immigration thing, and then a fractured left with a communist party, a socialist party, a green party, and all the rest, and that they could not get together. The unions, there are 8 national union federations in France. We have 1, the AFL-CIO, they have 8, and they've never been able to agree on anything. In the last 5 years, all of that has changed. Here's what's happened. In the last election, that Mr. Macron won, and that Le Pen came in second, a very, very close third, 1 or 2 percentage points less, was a unified left, in which the communists, socialists, Greens, and 3 or 4 other parties all got together. Unheard of. And they were, as I say, 2-3 percentage points less than Mr. Macron. That's all. The division in France is very dangerous for the government in power because the left was unified. In the demonstrations that had involved millions of people over the last 2 weeks and are scheduled to continue next week again, the 8 different trade unions who have been unable to agree on anything else are all agreed. They are all together leading this movement. It's led by the labor unions united. France has never seen this before. And I believe it shows the wisdom of a famous remark made by a great leader years ago. Here's how it goes. For many decades, nothing seems to happen. And then in a few weeks, decades happen.
Who said that, Professor Wolff?
The man's name was Vladimir, but not Zelensky. You can think about who it might be, and you'll guess right.
Brilliant guy. He's really good, really smart guy.
I know you have to go, but thank you so much for calling. It was incredible talking to you. So great. Maybe you'd be open to coming back again sometime. That'd be awesome.
Wait.
Absolutely. I like your
Which one is
program.
it?
I like the style and the way you do things.
Oh, thank you.
And you don't
Wait.
beat around the bush, which I really appreciate because I live in a country where beating around that bush seems to become a
I only
necessary
beat one bush, Professor, and it ain't
Yes,
the one
yes,
we
yeah, I
talk
won't go
about.
there.
All right. But I do want to say,
Jordan Peterson's grandmother's bush.
I do want to say, you have a YouTube channel, Democracy at Work, or you're associated with it, and somehow you can subscribe on YouTube. I'm gonna put the link in the description. You guys are going to be greatly benefited by following Professor Wolff on TikTok, on YouTube. We'll put all the links in the description. Democracy at Work on across social media. We'll put them all in there. But go, please support and follow this brilliant man who's going to be calling in again soon, hopefully.
We're gonna get Ethan to read State and Revolution.
And then we'll talk about that. Very good. All right, gentlemen. Take
Thank
care.
you again.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
One of my favorite Lenin quotes,
Dude,
which
he's
I use all the time.
He's so smart.
Yeah.
Everything he says is so insightful and very scary, frankly. I'm glad he wrapped it up on a positive note. But
I don't even think that Professor Wolff is like particularly smart. He is, but I think
fuck?
it's more so.
You really
No,
gonna say
I
that
think
after
he
you-
will agree. I think he will agree with
that
this.
man just
All right. We can slow this back down.
called in. You're
No,
gonna say
I
he's
think he'll
not.
agree with what I'm about to say. It's common sense. I think this is what a lot of people fail to
Can
understand.
he be smart and have good comments?
Yes, but what he is
Fucking hell,
talking
bro.
about, for the most part, especially as it pertains to, talking about some of these issues and foreseeing the inevitable, is just common sense. It's more descriptive, really. I think that's the fundamentals of any kind of like Marxian analysis.
I know what you mean, but goddamn, he's awesome. I didn't even get to. I had all these questions lined up about Jordan Peterson. I'm gonna get him next time. I really want to hear his analysis.
Well, yeah,
on
there's so much.
Jordan's
There's so much to
words
talk
out
about
Marxism. But
he is brilliant, though. Yes, I do think Richard Wolff is great. For the record, I'm just simply...
just not that bright.
No. I think like the real brilliance of Richard Wolff comes from being able to describe complex complex texts with ease in a way that is
Hassan alert. We disavow everything said by this podcaster.
complex texts with ease.
I was
in a way that is digestible.
That makes sense. And
but ultimately, like he is simply describing common sense. I think everyone should understand that it's approachable. This kind of stuff is approachable if you just simply think it through.
That's what I was really enjoying. I mean, everything he was saying, I was really. It was really easy to consume and follow. I mean, the guys, we have to harvest his brain more. I need to steal more of his labor. Did I steal his labor?
No. That's not.
Because he's not my employee.
Can
I steal his labor? How can I? I'd like to steal his labor.
This is something people. This is something
Can't
people
I?
in my community say
How
about
to?
like people who quote unquote steal my takes or whatever. But like agitative propaganda is important for class consciousness, and therefore. It doesn't matter who's repeating it as long as other people are hearing it. Like, I don't give a shit. And I don't think he would give a shit either.
That was awesome, man. I gotta say.
Having the opportunity to describe such subjects to a broader audience of liberals is always good.
Hang on one sec. That is weird. What the fuck? Sorry. Great guy. We should reach out. Let's get him back on. Let's schedule it.
Like 30 seconds after you guys went off the line.
What?
Nothing. I was just...
No, write him and say, despite Hassan thinking you're not that smart, we do want to
That's not what I meant. I obviously think he's
I'm gonna send that clip in the email.
Everyone's gonna run with that now. No, I love Richard Wolff. I think he's great.
No, I
was
say,
very
when
excited.
I told you Wolff was coming on, you said, oh shit.
Yeah, I was
you
very
calling
excited.
the Wolff?
Yeah.
Well, when you sent it to me, Ethan was like, "We got to get this guy on." I was shocked.
I have
I've
so
been
many.
following
I have
TikTok,
so many
bro.
questions.
Yeah.
I had so many more
TikTok.
questions about how, like, the distinction between liberal, like and anti-capitalist. I wanted to talk to him about AI as a tool for capitalists, and what like the AI future represents for the labor force. Where the Marxists are in our colleges, in academia. And what the most right-wing departments are in colleges. We have a lot more to talk about, and we'll get to that next time we have him on.
Yeah, I was very thankful for that. So there it is, man. The Wolff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't even ask him a single Law and Order question, which is messed up.
Yeah. As the executive producer of the longest-running crime show, what did you think about that episode with Logan Paul?
Yeah, why do you do so much propaganda, Professor Wolff? How do you find time in your busy schedule to write so many and direct so many episodes?
What was it like working with Richard Belzer? You know, great actor,
Legend.
Munch. You know?
Absolutely.
We should hit him with that next time. Now that we're friends, that'd be cool.
What is Ice-T like on?
OG or SVU guys?
Do you think he would?
OG or SVU?
We can't have been the first ones to make that joke. He's got to know. Do you think he'll know what
He's
we're
probably
talking
been
about, or
hearing
be
it for
confused?
the last 30 years, right? That shit's been on, so yeah.
I'm sure he's been hit with that. Yeah, but it was dope. This was a great opportunity. All right, but we still got a lot of news to cover. Do you want to go through these line items,
Let's
or do you
see.
want
So
to
we
get to
got.
the main?
I wanted to show. You know, that's a good point because I know you probably you can't stay too long.
Yeah.
How long we got you? Because there's a lot here.
I gotta leave at 12:30 as I always do.
Okay, cool. I just want to show you this because it's so funny, and we can move on to the main stories. But Rudy fucking Giuliani, I mean, I love to make fun of this ghoul. This man was the president's lawyer not that long ago.
Yeah.
Here, another clip.
America's mayor.
He is America's mayor, as we all know. And he has this fantastic podcast. We've watched a few excerpts. Enjoy this one.
Such a
as
loser.
He pulls up a clip.
This guy.
He's about to do react shit.
Watch this shit.
I love that.
Well, let's see.
Of course, the press
I'm
would
gonna try.
never, ever.
Stay in your fucking lane. Oh, dude, I've done that. I've done this.
Dude, there's someone behind the
You're
camera,
laughing, but
though.
I've done this.
No, there's someone behind the camera that's moving it and zooming in.
Dude, it's so dirty too. What is that? Is that a cum stain? Ew.
This is fucking awesome.
And it's not playing. It's not playing.
No,
Oh,
it's not
God.
playing.
Get it to work.
It's
and the glare from the light
disgusting.
makes like a quarter of the screen.
Clean your devices, y'all.
Why is he zooming and panning?
It's a sexual dance.
Bro.
I don't even know why he's showing this clip. It didn't end up being really interesting, but if you...
And it's so quiet you can't hear.
Yeah, you can't hear it. It's playing off this down.
I have the volume maxed out.
It's playing off the tablet, and then so here I'll just pull back.
That's it? That was the clip?
Well, then he pulled. Yes, that's it.
No. That's his clip that he
That's
pulled?
it, yeah.
What? Why did he pull that?
It was him talking about ice cream. I didn't understand the significance. Look
He's
at
not
this.
even
I'm
reacting.
taking a moment
Whoa.
because what I say will be edited if I don't.
Oh, he's just that upset about it.
I have had issues.
This
I
man
thought.
Wow.
is a
Oh my God.
Powerful.
tool.
This man's coming from our jobs.
I thought he had gone totally bald, but it was just the angle. I kind of wish he would. It would be way more like supervillain.
I love
He's gonna have that dentist guy that you have on next week.
Oh no,
Jimmy!
Yeah,
He would never.
He's gonna have the dentist guy on to interview Donald Trump.
Jimmy would go on fucking Rudy.
Oh, he would
He
absolutely.
could go on Rudy. That's
Knowing
fine.
Jimmy, he's probably already met him too.
They're dogs. Hey, I want to. So just to hit a couple things at the top. Aiden told you to kill yourself. That was cute.
That was funny. Yeah.
He also today said about trans people, my pronouns are kill them.
I haven't
Dude, yeah.
seen the full clip, but
This shit is so fucked up. And he's doubling down on it so hard. And Train confronted him about it on stream, and nothing happened. Like, nothing. He's not banned. Nothing has happened. He's just still doing it.
But I think he was. What was he? He was looking at like.
It was a middle school teacher talking about her fringe pronouns. It was a video.
That's cool, man. That's nice.
He said He says my pronouns are kill them.
He's such a little edgy teen, like going through his 4chan phase, like, but in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, he's gonna. Yeah. By the way, that hairline is not looking hot. Like that thing has gone back.
Dude, hey, don't
You know
come
what
after.
I'm
Don't go
saying?
after Ethan. You know what I mean? That's what happened to your hairline.
Do you see that? It seems noticeably
Yeah, that's not good.
receding.
Every
Ian
time.
just flash frame to me.
It's just a fact in my
mentioned the
opinion.
bad hairline.
Every time he drops another
Dating.
fat rope at his sister, he's like losing another.
Oh.
He's losing another inch of his hairline.
Oh, shit.
10.
He comes and he just rips out a bunch of his hair.
He's just like, oh, accidentally jerked off to his sister again. Fuck.
So cringe, bro.
So
To all you guys that get to pick your pronouns, my pronouns is kill/them. Okay.
But that's not really funny because I mean, people are like wanting to kill them.
Yeah, well,
which is like makes that super crazy thing to say.
The weirdest part about this that I find particularly fascinating is that, like, he's saying this, but like, is he ideologically genuinely motivated to like actually kill trans people? I don't think so. I think he. And what's really important, and this is not a defense of Aiden Ross in any way, shape, or form. This is more so a criticism of the structure itself. That like in entertainment, anti-trans rhetoric is so popular that even if you're not transphobic originally or don't give a shit or haven't really thought it through, you can lean into that kind of rhetoric as violently as possible, like he has thus far, like he's doing currently, specifically to gain clout and prominence through some of the more right-wing circles. That is what's truly fascinating about this, is that like someone as stupid as Aiden Ross, who hasn't even been like ideologically motivated to like be angry at trans people in the same way that like fascists like Matt Walsh are, fascists like Matt Walsh or, you know, those over the Daily Wire are, he will still repeat that like a toddler.
He's winking to them.
He will repeat those talking points like a fucking toddler with diminished brain capacity, so that, you know.
Truly. You can tell his frontal lobe is not there. He has not completed the frontal lobe speed run.
No, he will be welcomed by this audience.
Well, that's
don't know
and
why
I mean,
they think this is a big audience. To be fair,
his folks are like tater tots, so it makes sense. He's pandering to them. But okay, as we're have about 30 minutes left, let's talk about our main story here. Trump finally, at long last, week saying Trump's back, baby. He had his first campaign rally today in none other than the great city with the illustrious and wonderful history, Waco, Texas.
Hell yeah, baby.
We're holding out, brother. Of course, is it not coincidental that he held it there at the infamous raid that killed a bunch of people?
30th anniversary.
30th anniversary, in fact.
Yeah.
Why would he want to connect his campaign to the Waco
Maybe
massacre?
he watched a new Netflix documentary and was like, and got the wrong idea. Like he was like, those guys over at Waco, they were good guys. They were very fine people. Like, obviously, the ATF is somehow more monstrous and horrific than like,
because the police were the fucking really fucked that up.
Like,
man.
let me just point something here, okay? I'm no fan of the three-letter agencies, okay? And you know, give it up to the ATF to be the worst guys in a situation that involved a like pedophile cult leader.
Yeah.
Like they still somehow were like, no, you don't understand. We're the villains of the story.
Yeah, no, totally.
But
so Trump's channeling that. I love that. No matter, it's funny.
But that is insane. It is insane to look at that situation and be like, I actually will take a side on this. I'm siding with the pedophile cult leader.
That's it. I was wondering, are you with? But also, he's pro-police, so I guess I just don't understand any side of this one. But here he is.
Branch Davidians. They got some good ideas.
I love the pedophiles. I like a young girl. Who doesn't?
I mean, other than the pedophilia stuff, like obviously the Branch Davidians, they sold a lot of guns, folks. They did. They loved their guns.
True.
Believe me. That's probably why.
So here he is kicking it off. Let's take a listen and a look.
Glory, hallelujah, look, it's real America.
Oh, yes, sir, it's real
Glory,
America.
glory.
Ted, huh?
I'm telling you, the whole world sucks, and America's catching up, but here in Waco, Texas, with the real shit kickers, this don't suck at all.
What in the fuck?
Huh?
This your people? Hell yeah, we kicking shit and sucking dirt down here.
Everything sucks. America also sucks, except for us here right now. Like what? What is that messaging? Bro, what?
Boy, pass me that vinyl chloride, son.
I mean, yeah, Ted Nugent is like a disgusting little piglet.
Dude,
and
this is great.
so
It's
he
awesome.
loves that. Like he's like, yeah, we're all filthy.
here.
Protect Shredder from Ted Nugent, I think.
Oh, Alfredo's here too. Hey, Freddy. They came with Eula today.
Hi, Shredder.
Hi. I'm taking Shredder to the another vet after the show today, a specialist.
Yeah.
And I didn't. Did you know that there was like internal medicine, like specialist vets?
I did not know that. No.
I didn't either.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so we're gonna go see what they have to say. But anyway, let's continue on here. Oh, can someone grab water for them? Thank you.
Hey, look! Everybody take a look! Take a good look around you. This is real Texas.
Yes, sir.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, look!
And real Texas, we gotta fortify the bleachers.
When he says shit kickers, he means like that time when he started taking shits in his own pants, specifically so he could avoid the draft. I think that's what he's talking
what is
about.
a shit kicker?
Like they're just in the gunk, you know what I mean? The real Americans.
That doesn't seem. That seems like an insult. Is an unsophisticated or an oafish person from a rural area?
But he's like, you know, he's reclaiming it.
Okay, we the real shit kickers around here. On his way to the stage, he debuted a new dance move. Also a weak fucking crowd size, which is sad. We don't like that, but it's Waco, Texas. I mean, okay, new dance moves, people. Maybe this will make it to Fortnite. Let's see.
The double dick suck is my favorite, and he's still doing it. He's still doing it.
You could see his mobility. He's flexible. He's
so hot.
God, that is desolate. There's not a lot of people there. Yo, there is not a lot of people there. You can tell he's got it all, folks.
He popped off.
Yes.
I love the double dick suck. That's my favorite. The two dicks. It's the best. It's the best. He is the.
I love
the
it.
goat.
Here is some highlights.
A man of the
Did
people.
you watch the whole thing or no?
I didn't. I have highlights here.
Okay, I did.
You watched it all? How long was it?
Fuck yeah, I watched it live, dude. I'm
yeah,
his
that's
number
your
one
shit.
stan, dude. Are you
shit.
crazy? Come on now.
Yeah.
He shit on DeSantis a lot. Didn't get a lot of applause from the crowd when he was shitting on DeSantis, by the way, which was interesting, even in Waco. He did that. He was kind of mid overall, still rehashing the same issues over and over again. And most importantly, it didn't make, like, mainstream media didn't cover it too much.
That's not good.
So it does kind of feel like, you know, people are, I mean, he's fallen off a little bit. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
But this isn't good because if a lot of people are like, he's going to kill DeSantis. But Trump running again is the same Trump that ran last time. He's not going to have a shot. People don't want him. They've already said, we don't want him. He doesn't have support.
You don't understand, Ethan.
No, I mean, it's going to be a great ride, but he seems like a bad candidate for the Republican Party.
But there is no good candidate for the Republican Party as it stands currently, which is the problem, because you have this internal fraction of people who want more culture war, but they represent the most viable constituency to win primaries.
Yeah.
But if you lean into that too much, once you make it out of the primaries, you're going to get pummeled in the national election because the middle class, upper middle class, wealthy suburbanites that otherwise love like Reaganite policies and whatnot aren't super invested in like consistently talking about children's genitals, and you look like a pathetic fucking sweaty, crusty weirdo when you're constantly talking about children's genitals. They're super Twitter brain.
It's gonna be great. I'm so excited about it.
He also put on a rock show at the concert. I don't know if you caught that part of it.
There was a lady.
This is David Koresh, by the way.
Yeah, that was.
I don't know who that is.
The Branch Davidian guy.
That's
Waco
the guy.
That's the guy.
Oh, okay. That's the Waco guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know he shredded.
Yeah, no, he's shredded.
Okay, fire. So anyway, let's watch some highlights.
Support baby bonuses. So many people like that.
We
for
love the babies.
New baby boom that will be coming. We need babies. All of this is.
What is this?
He's been talking about this a lot.
What is the we need babies?
He wants to give like subsidies to families with newborns, I think.
He is fearful. Okay, so here's what's going on. In every developed country, there is one consistent principle. The more a country develops, the wealthier a nation gets. If you implement xenophobic, nativist policies like anti-immigration, you will always have a declining birth rate. Japan is the primary example of this, a very well-developed economy with a basically reverse pyramid where you have a massively aging population. Even Japan has decided to, in recent years, start lowering some of the restrictions and letting in more people and start like a nationalization process for people because they recognize like, oh shit, we have no productive laborers left if this continues. And I think that is the reason why he's trying to get people to have more children because financial access is a major barrier to.
So we need more babies. Children. We need more babies.
Obviously, that won't solve the problem because like.
So not a bad policy, you think?
What?
Not a bad policy, maybe?
It's not necessarily a bad policy. Child tax credits literally wiped out child poverty in this country, which is why even the likes of Mitt Romney were advocating for it. There is almost bipartisan consensus on the matter, but a lot gets lost in this conversation with respect to child rearing, child development, and how expensive it is, but also how little time the parents have to do such a thing. So without like any kind of federally protected parental leave, and without any kind of like federal protections that would be labor protections that would hurt the profit margins of corporations in the United States of America, you're still not going to see a massive increase in the birth rate of American citizens.
I see. We need more babies.
For the record, the reason why America has not had the same problems that Japan has experienced is immigration.
Right.
Immigration has been the main reason why the American labor force is replenished with younger people actively participating in the labor force.
We don't like immigrants, brother. Didn't you get the memo?
No. But greatness for our country again.
Oh, here's Trump ranting about we must do something about this ugly architecture, people. It's just savage what they're doing.
My favorite part.
It will be a quantum leap in American standards of living. We will hold a competition to build new freedom cities throughout our country, giving countless Americans a new shot.
Motherfucker, you think this is Sim City or some shit?
Freedom City?
What the fuck? We're a quantum leap in living quality of life. What the fuck? What are you talking about?
I mean, none of his initiatives ever end up happening. The only the most successful legislative policy for Donald Trump in his presidency was the tax cuts.
What do we have? 20 minutes left. Okay, we can finish.
Talked about for the corporations and the wealthy. So, none of the other initiatives ever actually come to fruition.
BRB.
Freedom cities, people. They'll be the freest cities in the world.
Yeah.
Talking about greatness for our country again. Our objective will be a quantum leap in
The
America.
promises he's making are like so outlandish. They're not even like believable, I would assume, to even the dumbest people. But shit, I don't know.
In standards of living. We will hold a competition.
People will be able to fly. We'll be able to fly. People, it'll be fantastic. Yes. I'll invent little VR machines lifelike VR machines to sleep with all the lonely men. Be like real women, everyone for every lonely man in America.
No, you can't do that. Then the birth rates will continue to decline. That's like, again, the Japan
You'll be able to
problem.
reproduce with the machine. It's all done.
Dude, that's the Japan problem. Hatsune Miku was too sexy, folks. Made the Japanese into hikikomoris. That's what they're calling
My
it.
friends will be having Chinese dick-sucking factories everywhere. It'll be
69.
fantastic on every
We must
street,
avoid
every
the
street.
Chinese dick-sucking factories.
We'll be collecting semen like it's gold.
He does hype up China quite a bit. Like, he's always like, China is destroying us, folks. They're killing us. Now, here's what I will say. Donald Trump is very good at reading the room. So I like to look at...
I gotta pee so bad.
Okay, well, I'll
going.
talk about this without you while you're peeing. So what I mean by this is sometimes it's best to look at the energy behind what he's actually pushing for or what he's actually stating. What do I mean by this? The last time he ran, he routinely talked about, corporate corruption and how much the wealthy own both parties. That was a fundamental truth that he was able to cut through the noise with. And I think that, paid in dividends for him. That I think that boosted him as an outsider. What he's doing now is talk with the future cities or freedom cities that he's talking about is obviously silly. It's never going to happen. But having said that, he must have clearly seen that there is interest within his base and within the American population in general for not only innovation, but also, a new way of prospering internally through economic development, through building new buildings, through building cities. And he's not wrong about that. That part of the statement is true. Like, if he were to talk about building like a civilian engineer corps or something like that, I mean, you would, and then rebuilding infrastructure and building developments all around the country, this would be like a leftist policy almost. Right. Of course, it's caked with like xenophobia. He's saying that like these freedom cities are going to shut out global competition or whatever, which. That's another vehicle to sell this with, and that that he's trying to, in his words, reopen the frontier, reignite American imagination, and give hundreds of thousands of young people and other people, all hardworking families, a new shot at home ownership, and in fact, the American dream. So, like I said, the principles behind what he's advocating for are sound. It's just, is he going to actually implement this? I don't think so. And even if he were to implement it, the ways in which he would try to implement this would be fraudulent in general, I think.
What's the like city that all the rich people go run away and build in the Ayn Rand book? You know what I'm talking about?
The Libertarian Utopia?
Yeah, the Libertarian Utopia. What's their name for it?
I don't know.
That's what I imagine it would is what he's actually. He's not picturing, public housing or something like that. Ayn Rand, fictional city.
Oh, Galt's Gulch.
There it is. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he's picturing. He isn't picturing the projects.
Yeah, except we do have an example of a libertarian utopia. It was in New Hampshire, and because of their libertarian sentiment, it got overtaken by fucking bears.
Wait, what?
Yeah, there was a book written about it.
Got overtaken by bears?
Yeah, there was a New Hampshire town called Grafton. Matthew Hongoltz Hetling wrote a book about it. A libertarian walks into a bear. That's the name of the book. And this was considered to be, by him, one of the boldest social experiments in modern American history. And yeah, the Vox article goes into detail about this a little bit, but the book is great.
I'm gonna have to read this.
They basically didn't have like an adequate pest control, any kind of fucking restrictions or regulations that you would normally have to avoid having bears destroy your town.
What the fuck? You're like, fuck it, you can have it. It's yours now. Oh my god.
It's awesome, dude.
It's literally a Simpsons plot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all manner of libertarianism. Ultimately, whenever you talk to a libertarian, they basically are forced to redescribe how a government should be formed, while simultaneously claiming that like the government should not exist.
Right.
But they'll still, when push comes to shove, whether you talk about roads or whether you talk about courts, they will ultimately describe to you the necessity for such things.
Yeah,
and then when you ask them how to fund it, taxes.
I don't even understand the point of it. Like, I don't know why people even do that to themselves. Like, why go down the libertarian road? I don't even get the appeal. It's like, I don't.
Wait, I get the appeal. It's American exceptionalism on crack. It's like you're an American. You're an individualist. This entire country was built on manifest destiny and the endless frontier. Making something of yourself, being able to go out and kill a bunch of indigenous people. And what?
Was it even libertarian even then?
I mean, it was still, in a lot of instances, it was still government sponsored, but it was very decentralized. Ultimately, I mean, you didn't even have a fucking singular bank. That's why there were so many different like banknotes and shit. That's why we needed some form of like a treasury or a central banking system.
Back to the good old days. Here, anyway, we need better architecture, brother.
To build new freedom cities throughout our
Freedom
country,
cities.
giving countless Americans a new shot at home ownership and a real shot at the American dream. We will build new monuments to our great American heroes. We won't tear them down. We'll build
monuments.
them up.
Yes.
Clean out homeless camps from our inner cities. Get rid of ugly buildings that are hurting.
I love. There's no further thought into that. We're gonna get rid of the homeless. We're gonna take them off the street.
I love when he's
Where they go or what we do doesn't matter.
Not your problem to think about.
I love, like, what does he mean, I wonder, when he says...
I hate it so much. We're just gonna take care of them. We're just gonna get rid of them. What do you mean by that, sir?
Like, we're gonna get rid of the ugly buildings, like, because
That
it's
is
not like
really-
Trump Tower is like a beacon of prosperity. You know what I mean? It's like ugly
tall.
gold
It's
shit.
fantastic.
It's gold.
It's gold. What do you mean?
Get rid of ugly buildings that are hurting those cities and other places.
I don't know what does that mean. I'm gonna start demolishing ugly buildings.
Yeah, he's gonna destroy them.
It's just crazy.
Sure.
We're gonna rebuild them. They'll be
Who decides which ones are ugly? It's kind of subjective.
beautiful.
This is literally like
It's psychotic.
It's what you see all the Greek statue profile picture people on Twitter complaining about
True.
all the time. It's
True.
like, we need more columns. That's going to solve all of our problems. Our
Right.
buildings need columns again.
Right, but he's talking about going into major cities and blowing up ugly buildings. And people are. I mean, that's his platform.
Insane.
Hell yeah.
Ugly buildings that are hurting.
They're hurting
those
us.
cities
The
and
ugly
other places,
buildings.
and return to the magnificent classical
Yes,
style of
yes.
Western civilization.
Yes,
Talking about great.
like Trump Tower.
Right. Yeah.
Not a modern
What is Trump
monstrosity.
Tower in New York? look
Yeah, I think he means like, I mean, this is like very American to just like. I mean, I don't like brutalist architecture either, but I think he means like we gotta destroy those boxy architecture, even though we don't really have it all that much. But like, it's basically social housing. Like it's
Right.
Soviet era social housing.
Mm.
Which, by the way, was profoundly successful, for the record. So successful that even like post-Soviet countries have significantly higher rates of home ownership, significantly higher percentages of home ownership.
That's wild.
So remember that before we talk about those ugly houses.
Ugly.
Nobody wants an ugly house, even if you're homeless. They'd rather live on the streets.
No, I would rather have an ugly house. I'll take a tiny ugly house. I don't care.
Here he is, finally going after DeSantis.
Congressman Wesley, that was a good speech you gave. But they've been very loyal. But I'm a loyalist, and when a man comes to me, tears in his eyes, he's at almost nothing in the polls. And he's fighting somebody that's at 42, and he's got almost $30 million in the bank. He's at almost nothing. He's got no cash. And I say, I can't
No
give you an
cash.
endorsement. There's no way you can win. You're dead.
No cash, no bitches.
But he fought a little bit, like 150. He was certainly no Jim Jordan, that I can tell you. He fought a little bit, just a little bit, on impeachment hoax #1, impeachment hoax #2, meaning on television, because I didn't know him very well. But I saw him, so he came and he really wanted. I said, you can't win, can you? How do you can win? Sir, if you endorse me, I'll win. Please. Please, sir, endorse me. And I said, all right, let's give it a shot, because honestly, the Secretary of Agriculture, Congressman Wesley, that was a
He
good
came
speech.
to me, tears
in his eyes.
Begging.
Crawling on the floor. It was pathetic.
Yeah, I mean, the other one where he talked to Sean Hannity about this was pretty funny too. He's like, Abraham Lincoln and George Washington couldn't even save DeSantis, but I did.
I love that.
You know, based.
I love how he like demeans the early founding fathers.
I mean, what could
Zane, what's your name and where are you from?
Here's some great interviews, of course, from the rally in Waco. She says she's a South African MAGA preacher. God sent Trump to her in her dreams.
That's fucking terrifying.
What?
So this is definitely all good.
Look, amazing. What's your name and where are you from?
My name is Lindy Ann Hopley, and I am a South African MAGA preacher.
Do you live in South Africa now?
I'm living in America
Thank God.
because God actually told me that there's a revival coming to America.
No.
No.
What's your visa status? I don't care what God told you in your dream.
These people are always overstayers, dude.
Deport this immigrant.
Another South African that was a visa overstayer, Elon Musk.
Right.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I guess
That
we
he
don't
was-
mind.
But he was able to pay his way into like college again, so he could like technically legally be here.
God told me, no. What is your visa status? God doesn't work in fucking immigration, lady.
Oh my God.
President Trump was in it. So I'm all about just praying for this country and seeing God get his full reward.
That's amazing. Where do you live here in the United States?
I'm in DFW, so we came
This
down
girl
with a
said, that's amazing. That's her follow-up. She says, Trump came to me in my dreams. I traveled across the world to commit immigration fraud.
I mean, her job
I'm here
quite
legally, and I talk to God. And
Her
shit.
job, quite literally, is to talk to the most
Amazing.
mentally unhinged people. Like
She just goes, amazing.
so, yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
Ethan, that person is the
The
most
composure.
sane person she's talked to today.
Yeah,
okay?
probably.
Okay, fair enough.
True.
I came here because God said to kill Democrats. I'm here. I'm armed. I'm going on my way to Washington, D.C.
We fucked up.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Tell
like,
me.
we fucked up one time with
me
that Nelson
more.
Mandela demon, so we
Oh, yeah.
decided to come to America.
I'm here to kill as many liberals as I can.
So we can do it.
Amazing. Tell me.
You think that God made you gay?
Trump
Amazing.
train with all the Texans, going crazy. All the trucks just honking and going wild. It's so great to see how many patriots there are and so many supporters of just this great movement.
Fantastic. And what is it about
Fantastic.
President Trump that you love so much?
Is she even listening? Amazing.
You
Fantastic.
can't. You have to. You literally have to dull it out, or else you will become as insane.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's why.
She just waits till they stop talking and goes, amazing.
All right,
Well, to be honest, I just started dreaming about him. I am, I have a prophetic gift, and the Lord started speaking to me about him. And in my one dream, I actually did, because I'm totally not political. I'm a minister. I travel around the world.
Sure.
You had me fooled.
He said, shine your light and don't hide it underneath a basket. So I was a wild party girl and
What?
had an encounter with.
No, you were. I don't see it.
Don't hide it underneath a basket. She doesn't sound South African.
But
She's
what
being
I
sarcastic.
loved about this
Yes.
is that I actually, in one of my
She's
dreams,
up.
I sat in front of President Trump, and I knew he was giving me some type of job. It's kind of like, and I said to the Lord in my dream, I said, I don't want to lose my ministry for this, like
Lady.
this guy. And he said, you
Wait,
won't
pause
lose
it for
your
a second.
ministry. I just want you to partner with.
Lady, what you're describing is carbon monoxide poisoning. Okay, you did not. This is not a real dream that you had.
You left
Check
the
your
oven
fucking
on.
check your fucking smoke detectors, lady. Insane. Like it's so awesome.
They're just
in
used
many
to
ways
that. There is
that
What is it? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's just so awesome that they're like leaning into their like,
Yeah.
in some instances, possible schizophrenia.
Yeah, genuine psychosis.
In Waco,
Yeah.
Texas, no other place.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like,
I want to start a cult around
No, it's
Donald Trump
awesome.
here in Waco, Texas.
and that's how
We're
you get your
amassing
bona fides.
weapons.
That's how you get your bona fides. Like that's like whoever is the most mentally ill is like the highest ranking cult member in the Trump universe.
I love it, man. Here is we love them, the good liars. These guys go out to Trump rallies all the time.
Yeah.
Well, here's a fantastic exchange. Always good work by them.
Which do you think are more dangerous, drag shows or guns to children?
What a question.
Obviously.
Drag shows. Obviously drag shows. Oh my God. This man has some titties. He might have bigger titties than me.
How many people do you think have been killed at a drag show?
I don't know, but the long-term effects
Right.
are detrimental.
Right.
How many people do you think die every year from guns?
I have no idea.
48,000.
48,000? Okay. Well, there's probably 100,000 that die from drag
Got
shows.
Which do you
Right.
think are more dangerous?
Fucking owned. Why did they
100,000.
post this? They got owned. What do you mean? That's evidence. Where'd you get the evidence from? I made it up. Came to me in a
God
dream,
told
brother.
me, brother.
Came to me in a dream. I heard it at the South African MAGA Patriot Priestess show.
This was wild.
Is that right? That seems kind of high. I know it's a lot. No, that's right. What year is this? So this was data ending in 2019, but yeah, it's about 40,620 people die from gun violence every year. Holy shit, 117,345 people are shot every year. God damn. 15,343 are murdered. 76,725 people survive gunshot injuries. God damn. This is the number I was looking for. 23,891 die from gun suicide. That's crazy. Damn.
They uncovered a.
Did you?
Wait, this is the same woman. This is the same woman who was there being like amazing. I love. She's like,
yeah. She did own this guy pretty fucking
I don't
hard.
think she even meant to.
Yeah, no, she accidentally owned
She
him.
didn't mean to. She was there to just make the craziest people look
This
cool.
is, RSB, whatever the fuck.
Right
it is.
Side Broadcasting News?
Yeah.
Duh, my favorite
Sorry,
channel.
I
What the
couldn't remember
fuck?
the
We're the
acronym.
right
side.
But they're like, they're even beyond like Newsmax or OAN. They are just, if there is just like a Trump network, it's this. Like that's all.
Okay. So this is fucking makes this even more interesting. You have to remember, she was here to make him look good, and this man exposed himself for.
They do hate valor theft, though. That's like a big crime. It's probably the biggest crime, honestly, punishable by death.
So though, I don't think she meant to do this. This man's wearing a Trump 45 hat. He's gold.
Let's take a look at what happened. 'Cause this is the cringiest
Where'd you
shit.
serve?
Marine.
Me too. What was your MOS?
I was special.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh.
I flew into places.
Special. What do you mean by that?
Okay. Where were you?
Places.
Where were you stationed?
I can't go into detail.
Okay.
But I can
This interview's.
Wait.
The fuck? Man was doing war crimes for sure.
There's more. Just we lost internet or some shit.
Oh.
Yeah, he flew into this.
Oh wait, no, it is over. I saw a longer version.
She flew in. He flew into this special place and cut the video
I
off.
can't talk about it.
He cut the feed, brother.
She's like, I'm a Marine. She's like, really? What do we? I can't talk much about that.
I love that.
Cut to break.
It's my
Cut to
favorite
break.
thing. First of all, valor theft is always good. Okay.
It is fun, yeah.
Yeah, I love doing it. Yeah, I'm a veteran of the Korean War. It's like funnier if you do it.
Did you?
For like shit that you clearly are not old enough to be.
Here's one last clip, and I'll let you go, Hassan. But
Okay.
This is a bonus clip. Trump explains that if you don't love your children, you don't have to leave them anything. Which is ironic, of course.
I think he's
you follow the dots, he's trying to say something about it.
saying, he's not even. I don't even think this is about Eric or Donald. They know they ain't getting nothing in the fucking will. Okay. Tiffany as well. I think this is more so about Ivanka.
Oh, he's threatening Ivanka. Wonderful Ivanka.
Keep her in line.
Well, shit, her husband's way richer than he is. So, L.
Oh, dude, how dare you bring that up?
Way richer than
Fucked
Trump,
up.
broke ass.
Talk to you soon. That's fighting words.
Happy and rich again.
Let me go back.
And I made farmers happy and rich again.
Yes.
And they're doing a fantastic job. And you know what? Someday it'll become time for them to leave this beautiful earth, and they'll be able to leave their farm without taxes to their children.
Yes.
I got rid of the death tax on farms.
Ridiculous.
Second
so
angle,
that when you
folks.
do pass away, on the assumption that you love your children, you can leave it to them and they won't have to pay tax.
Can you pause for a second?
But if you don't love your children,
I don't want to assume you love your kids.
Wait, before we even get to the funny part of this, like, I hate the death tax or the estate tax eligibility is so fucking high. Do you want to know how many Americans were impacted by the estate tax?
How many?
during when Donald Trump even increased the price floor higher? 15,000.
That's not a lot.
Yeah, 15,000.
Wait, what's the floor on that?
I believe, what did it go from? I think, was it 10 million? Like, it's...
Wait, you have to have a $10 million property to be eligible?
It's presently 12
Jesus.
million for individuals, 24 million for a married
You have
couple.
to have to sell a $12 million property?
Like,
or 24 if
This
you're
man's
married.
talking about farms.
Yeah, the gift and estate tax exemption now is $12.92 million or
Holy shit.
$25.84 million per married couple. Yeah.
That's like super fucking rich.
That's 15,000 Americans total.
love
That's
it.
insane. None of those dumbasses at the fucking Trump rally are in that. They're not.
Not
Trump
close.
himself barely makes the fucking metric, dude.
That's incredible how he spins that. All you good old Americans
But
on
it's
your
not-
farms.
But it's not him. This is not him that spins it like that. This is every Republican.
That's
Trump is just
crazy.
a more effective interlocutor. He's more effective at communicating this and basically articulating it in a way that it corresponds to the desires of the average American citizen who think that they have that kind of money.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that when you do pass away, on the assumption that you love your children, you can leave it to them and they won't have to pay tax. But if you don't love your children so much, and there are some people that don't, and maybe deservedly so, it won't matter. Because frankly, you don't have to leave them anything. Thank you very much.
What the fuck? That was like a
What?
so unnecessary tangent
The
about
fuck?
how he's threatening
Let's
his
say-
kids.
Just telling his kids he's not giving them shit.
Let's say they go back to polite liberal society and decide to go to the cocktail parties and say, I no longer want to work with Donald Trump, Donald J. Trump, the greatest president. Then you
Yeah.
don't bring them, you don't leave them anything, folks.
He's the best, man. This
Yeah.
is exciting to see him back in form. This is nice. This
I
is
thought-
good content.
I thought it might also just be a matter of him trying to connect with his audience of old boomers whose kids hate them and don't talk to them anymore. He's like
Back
trying-
to American values.
Yeah, oh, that too, for sure, for sure.
As you know, many of you hate your children, and I get it.
Your children have gone no contact. I get it. I get it.
American values, nuclear family. And by nuclear, I mean we're blowing it up. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. What a nice episode we
was a great
had.
episode.
Thank you, Hassan. Good times. Good times. Professor the Wolff, whose info's in the description. Follow him. Hit him up.
The
tell
Wolff
him
Professor.
We want you back on Leftovers.
He was great. He was wonderful.
Permanent third co-host.
Love that.
Us and the Wolff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he'd be down
We
to
called
do
the
that.
Wolff.
He's a busy guy, but I would love
Come on,
that.
what could be more important than this?
Ask Dick.
Ask
Professor Dick Wolff.
I thought you said ass and dick is more.
No.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see y'all tomorrow for Friday. It's Friday, baby.
Yes.
Woo!
Epic. Okay. What else did I want to do? Oh, yeah. Those will be good. We can do those another time. And then AI and stuff. Okay. I'm heckin' tired. I'm gonna be real. I was just gonna stay on until somebody came, but it's now 4 hours and nobody has come. Nobody loves me. Pepe hands. Guess I'll have to quit. Rip. Well. Bye, I guess.
I took people's drop boxes. I was like, "Are you a conservative, ma'am?" And like an old lady would be like, "Yeah, I'm a conservative." And I would fucking deck her, take her ballot, and just rip it apart right in front of her face. I was like, "F you, you're not allowed to vote this way in California." That's right, bitch. I got a funny one for you. Okay, here, look at this.
With what we were seeing in the polling data going into this election about what people cared about and the order in which they ranked it. So we have had a lot of questions throughout this time about new voters, people that hadn't been in there before that were perhaps not getting captured by the polling. So maybe this is a sign that we're going to see a little bit more of that tonight than we expected. We obviously don't know yet.
And you know what's missing from this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 5 issues? Democracy.